and never look back, but in the end we lose ourselves again. Together. Together. Close to you, I'm paralyzed, so I'm breathing it in, everything. Oh, the more it shares, the higher we go, the harder we fall in and out of love. We should burn those bridges and never look back, but in the end we lose ourselves again. Together. 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 The more it shares, the higher we
welcome into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. We've got a good one here on a Thursday night as Boise State's Overwatch dreams could come to an end, or the Broncos could go marching into the finals here tonight as we wrap up the Nace playoffs. We're going to have a multitude of games tonight. We're going to start with the quarterfinals for both Boise State Blue and Orange. Should they win, so we're joined, of course, by Stella, who was so much good luck for the Broncos in the GOATS tournament. We will go on to the semifinals for Blue and Orange, and if they both win or one of them wins, the Broncos will have a team in the finals that will take place later on. So right now it's time to see if Boise State's playoff dreams can stay alive here in the Nace Overwatch playoffs. As we mentioned, quarterfinals action coming up. We'll kick things off with Boise State Blue taking on Bryant Stratton University. Michael Fisher, Colby D'Angelo Alloway here to call all of the action. And D'Angelo, first time you've joined us since we had maybe the biggest meta shift in a while in Overwatch. We've seen, unfortunately for me, a lot of McCree and a lot of actually valuable Deadeyes. I'm going to be really curious to see, because Boise State Blue has played it really, really well, getting multiple 4K Deadeyes and making me eat my words.
Yes, I absolutely love that. I'm so happy to be on screen with you right now just because of that, to be perfectly honest. But in terms of the meta shift, in terms of like tanks, Double Shield is something that we've seen for a while. It was something that I actually played as a player for Boise State for a while. So that isn't necessarily a new meta. And honestly, as soon as McCree got the HP buff, I kind of knew in my head that he was going to end up being meta, because so it is only 25 HP, but you really do feel it.
Yeah. I mean, same, we talked about it with the Widowmaker change where she lost 25 HP, and you were saying, it's just 25 HP, but it actually is going to make a huge difference. We've seen a decent bit of Soldier as well, who was buffed previously, and now he's sort of coming into his own. We've also seen Goblin play a ton of Echo, using that duplicate to get double gravitic fluxes and be able to have that backup. So I'll be really curious to see. Blue team, they've been the ones who have heavily adapted. Orange team, when they've gotten, even though they're in 3-0ing teams, they've still said, all right, let's bring out the Sombra. Let's go back to what we know really, really well. So we'll take a look at the bracket here. You saw there's 85 Nace teams that started this whole thing. Right now we're in the upper region of the bracket A1. It's Boise State Blue taking on Bryant Stratton. Broncos and Bobcats here. Winner will go on to the semifinals to play probably the second biggest favorite of the tournament behind Boise State Blue, as we will shift brackets here really soon, is the winner of Mizzou and Northwood, two top 10 programs in the country, D'Angelo, and really a matchup that probably should have taken place in the quarterfinals, but Boise State's going to have their work cut out for them, the blue team is, if they can win this game against Bryant Stratton.
Boise State is absolutely going to have their work cut out for them, and it would really be a shame to not see I predict Boise State versus Northwood coming out there. I do believe that will be the matchup, and I do believe that will be an absolutely amazing game.
You see here's where the Orange squad currently lays, the top seed in the B1 bracket. They're taking on Ontario Tech, and then they will be potentially advancing to the semifinals, where the Orange team can have a shot at revenge if they win, as they will be potentially taking on Midland, who I know is also in the quarterfinals of the B2 bracket. As we see, there is Midland. They're taking on Michigan Tech. Midland beat the Orange team in the NECC, whose playoffs are going to be starting very shortly, and I know from what I've heard from the coaches, would be a very, very tough matchup if the Broncos Orange squad could take on Midland. But as we said, we will have to see. We're going to have the blue game versus Bryant Stratton. We'll follow that up with the orange game versus Ontario Tech. Should either one of those teams, both or one, win, we will have the semifinals immediately following, as we see Boise State Blue versus the winner of Mizzou and Northwood if they're victorious, and then Boise State Orange versus the winner of Midland and Michigan Tech if the Broncos are victorious there. So could be in for a long Overwatch night as we see the players there getting ready to go, D'Angelo. And I'm really excited, and this is the one thing I did like about the tournament. The meta hit as the first round kicked off. So it's not like, teams had to adjust on the fly. We're seeing whoever adapts to the new meta the fastest probably going to be the winner of this tournament.
Yes. So whoever adapts to the meta the fastest. The meta is the meta for a reason, and actually it is super, super important. So our previous meta was a Sombra. McCree hard counters Sombra. So it really is a testament to Boise State Orange that they've been still being able to win games with running a Sombra into a McCree, because that really shouldn't happen. He definitely hard counters Sombra in every possible way. Even if she does get the hack on him, it he doesn't need an ability to click her in the head.
Yep.
So he's actually one of the hardest counters out there. So while I do believe that Boise State Orange has the skill to do this, they will have to adapt to the new meta if they want to go up against these upper echelon teams.
Yeah, and it actually has been kind of funny because Boise State, we talk about the blue teams been on the cutting edge. We've seen a lot of teams come out with the old meta, the Rhine Diva. They brought out their Sombra. They get kind of run over on control, and they're like, let's just try this Sigarissa and see what happens. We've seen a ton of teams copy Boise State. I'll be really curious to see if Bryant, Stratton, or Ontario Tech, where they lie and what they want to play. We get Doc's keys to the game. We always talk about never taking a fair fight. What exactly does that mean? Well, it means take fights in unexpected places when the other team's not prepared and when you know you have the ability advantage. It's all brought to you by Count, who's at Trust Global Network. Delivers real-time fraud prevention, account protection, enables a personalized customer experience for more than 9,000 leading brands and payment providers, making sure that you're never taking an unfair fight online either. If you want more information, go check them out at count.com, KOUNT.com. As we kick things off here, Boise State in the orange, Bryant, Stratton in the blue on control.
And Ilios is a super important map here as we start off here on first control point. As we can see, Boise State is running kind of like the old. Neither team is really running anything on meta right now. So it'll be interesting to see how the double ball versus Sigma Monkey works out.
Yeah, we have seen a lot of Brig as well from ASU almost exclusively on that hero since the meta has changed. As you see Plato putting some damage onto Narwhal. No elimination yet. Fabian's able to blink away and heal. Plato taken low. He will be able to reverse time, and neither Tracer take it low, but they are very scary. We do see the Pharmacy brought out from Bryant Stratton, but there is no mercy now as Kel gets the first elimination, but they'll trade it for a large bagel. Plato finally picked one up onto Narwhal as the point has unlocked. Boise State now trying to run through the remaining health bars. You can see the Bobcats low on every single person except OBL, who's trying to contest that point as best he can. Plato and Goblin incredibly low for Boise State, but no elimination. Finally, Goblin gets the better of Gorda. Fabian will go down, and now the elimination track up for Boise State, and this should allow them to get the point first.
Yes, Boise State has a very low healing comp, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because they focus on doing damage with that Brig Stun and the Zenyatta Discord. So Boise State is all about killing them before they can kill you, and that is exactly what Plato enabled them to do with that first pick on the Mercy there.
You see, do have a Pulse Bomb up for both Tracers. Not going to matter when Fabian can't even get in range. Have the rally up for Asu as well if he wants to pop it. Looks like Bryant Stratton just going to wait for that Tracer to respawn.
Just going to wait for that Tracer to respawn, and that is definitely the move there, especially if you're trying to get Pulse Bomb value. But honestly, taking a 5v6 against Boise State Blue is not a good idea.
Nice flank there from Plato, but Narwhal gets the first elimination onto a large bagel. Rally comes out, but the Pulse Bomb gets Kel as well. You can see Narwhal and OBL incredibly low. Pulse Bomb able to pick up Narwhal, so both tanks now for Bryant Stratton have been taken down. Tutso will go down as well, so there's no res available for the Bobcats, and Boise State doing a great job just contesting the point. Minefield available for Guac if he wants to use it, as Asu gets a knock off the edge, and unfortunately for Bryant Stratton, it started so well and ended so poorly.
It looked like it started so well, but I mean, when you're running a Monkey into a Zenyatta, I mean, you kind of just know that the Zenyatta is going to get picked, and everybody else on the team, on Boise State Blue's team, is self-sufficient, so it actually doesn't necessarily impact the overall fight if the Zenyatta dies first.
See the duplicate from Goblin. He is going to copy onto the Wrecking Ball, drop a Minefield down, see if he can maybe get a second one. No, he cannot. His health bar will evaporate, but right on top of all those mines, and he will retreat. Does look like Gordup has dropped off the far. He's going to pick up that McCree, something we talked about in the open as being one of those new meta heroes. We'll see if he can get some hit scan onto Goblin. As right now, he's done some damage, but Valkyrie comes out from Tutso. Looks like Goblin's barely hanging on as Fabian gets a first pick onto a large bagel, but there goes Gordup. Could not find the last shot he needed onto Goblin. Ace2 has fallen. Gravitic Flux from Kel going to be used right on the point to smash down Mercy, and like we've seen so far, D'Angelo, 1 kill turns into 5 immediately for Boise State Blue.
Yes, absolutely. 1 kill turns into 5 quite often for Boise State Blue, so I'm not necessarily surprised to see it here. But their poor Zenyatta is having a time.
And well, Boise State, they don't even need to worry. That's 100-0. I don't know if Bryant Stratton forgot or just couldn't get back in time, but a pretty easy round 1 win there for Boise State on control, because it really didn't feel like the Bobcats had too much of an answer for the most part.
it didn't feel like they had an answer necessarily at all. It didn't really feel like they understood what Boise State was doing. And I mean, honestly, that makes a lot of sense. Boise State is doing something that's relatively unorthodox. Like, so we always see the Zenyatta pop up in the kill feed first, and your immediate thought is, oh, Boise State's down 1, we're going to lose the fight. But that's actually not the case, because usually that monkey is out of position in order to dive the Zenyatta, and they haven't been following up with him very, very, very well. And the Zenyatta for a monkey trade, especially with the comp that Boise State is running, that is always a trade that you want to take, unless you're like relying on Tranquility or something. So I think that Bryant Stratton is going to have a time if they don't figure out that the Zenyatta is literally there just to be bait.
We see they do have a couple of swaps. Moira has come out, and Fabian and Gordup have swapped, as now we're going to see Gordup on the Tracer. Fabian on the McCree, and he gets the first pick onto Plato, so apparently that swap pays out well. And now Fabian takes one on the Guac, so the DPS swap for Bryant Stratton plays perfectly. They pick up the first 2 eliminations of the map. Point has unlocked. Boise State still contesting. They've now lost Kel as well. A large bagel trying to do what he can. But Bryant Stratton with a nice little pickup here. They're going to get the point first.
That was a nice little clean wipe by Bryant Stratton there. McCree obviously did his job. He hard countered the Tracer. He hard countered the ball. He did an amazing job making life very difficult for Boise State.
Like Boise State does finally swap over. The first time we've seen them blink is Guac's going to go on to the Winston. He's going to get off of that wrecking ball, so we'll see how Boise State wants to play it now. Is the OBO with a nice little flank. Actually knocks Kel down, so he'll get the environmental kill. Now Boise State out of tank. Guac nearly falls down as well. He's able to leap to safety. OBO gets booped to take taste of his own medicine, so the tanks will trade 1 for 1. Guac, ooh, barely surviving there. And Boise State right now looks like they're going to wait to regroup. Battle of the Tracers. Plato will win that one. Deadeye Pulse Bomb up for the Bobcats, and Fabian's going to be the first one to press Q this match. And bang, 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 not going to find anything. Not to my surprise at all, as Boise State now finds 2 more. And it looks like that McCree ult might have allowed things Boise State to turn around, because ever since then, they have racked up eliminations. Minefield does come down from OBL. Fabian, though, has been on fire. He picks up a large bagel for Plato, and Nace will take him down. Rally does come out from Asu. You see the sound barrier has been used by Cole the Craze. But a Grace Pulse Bomb by Gordup. He'll take down 2 before he goes down, and Boise State unfortunately can't flip the point, as Goblin trying to do what he can, but I don't think Boise State's going to have the manpower.
No, Boise State does not have the manpower to go into this point again and flip it. They didn't focus the targets that they needed to focus, and I mean, that was just whoever was on the point, and that was definitely a misplay by Boise State Blue, and it's going to cost them a lot of percent. Now they're probably going to have to come back to 80-90-0 if they're going to flip this map.
Yeah, we saw the duplicate come out. Sound barrier's been used, and now Boise State able to pick up a couple as the rest of the team will join them. OBL is incredibly low and gets taken out by Plato, and much like we saw on map 1, Boise State turns 1 kill into 4, and now they're able to flip it at 96%, just barely avoiding overtime.
Just barely avoiding overtime indeed. However, they could have done this about 20% sooner if they had just target focused exactly like that in the first fight that they were taking.
Both tank ults up for the Broncos there. Primal Rage from Guac going to be the first one that is used. He's the Coalescence from Cutso, but nothing else for the Bobcats right now. Gravitic Flux comes down. 3 members go up. 3 of them then come down. Boise State has them incredibly low, but a nice Coalescence there to restabilize the health bar. See a Deadeye come out from Fabian, most likely used to reload as the Broncos just immediately line of sight him. The Pulse Bomb from Gordup picks up the only elimination so far onto Boise State, as it's a 4K for the Broncos, and they'll continue to allow this point to grow.
Fabian was previously carrying there with all of the picks that he was getting beforehand, but now Boise State has completely learned how to play around him, and they've done an amazing job of denying him absolutely any value. Goblin, please don't make me eat my words there. Oh my god, I was so worried there.
Yeah, Fabian trying to Deadeye around all these buildings allowed for easy line of sight for Boise State, and a little bit of a wasted ultimate. Obviously get the free reload. Plato's going to Pulse Bomb and pick up Fabian. As we were talking about, Boise State has found a way to deal with him. Plato gets a second. Cole the Crazy will land 1 elimination. But you're going to have to think Bryant Stratton will probably wait for the regroup here, as the rest of the members will get picked off. A nice boot from Cole the Crazy coming in there as the MVP. Knocks off Asu as well. He has the sound barrier, and the team's actually trading pretty back and forth. Duplicate from Goblin will go on to the Winston. Kel takes down Narwhal, and it looks like OBL is just going to self-suicide, and it looks like Bryant Stratton probably wants to reset here for the last fight. Yep.
Boise State is... Yes, Boise State is doing a nice job here. It took us 96% to figure out there, and we did have a little hiccup there with last fight with getting a little bit too greedy and people getting picked out. But it does look like Boise State can pretty safely run into this and win this next fight and the map.
Yeah, next fight wins here for Boise State. Sound barriers up for both sides. We see Gravitic Flux coming online. There's a sound barrier, lands onto all four, but not in time to take touch. So Fabian gonna get one back onto a large bagel, who dies with the sound barrier active. Rally has been used. Gravitic Flux is activated by Kel. He'll slam down Fabian. He will just barely survive. Just pull the crazy, taken out. The team's trading relatively even. If a large bagel can get back in the fight, he will have the sound barrier. No! Kel gets booped down into the hole. So Boise State right now, not a clean win. There's the sound barrier from a large bagel, who has rejoined. OBL dropped the minefield, but that Lucian getting back in time for Boise State might prove to be the difference. Pulse bomb from Plato, can't find anything. Primal Rage from Guac does take down Fabian, and now Boise State's starting to clean things up. And despite the early pick onto a large bagel, the ability to get back into the fight and re-sound barrier, probably the reason why Boise State picked up control here.
Boise State picked up control. Again, it took us 96% to figure out how to deal with Fabian, but once we did, we were able to cap that map.
Yeah, and it was really a great job by Bryant Stratton, realizing that maybe, you know what, it's not Fabian who should be on the Tracer, he should be on the McCree. And as you mentioned, once he switched over to the McCree, it took a while for Boise State to figure it out. Well, 2020 has been a tough year, and Respawn's looking to make it better. They partnered up with Nace and eFuse to give away 250 gaming chairs to 18 different collegiate and high school programs. Programs can submit a video showing how the Respawn gaming chairs can transform their program. If you want more information, go check them out on Twitter at eFuseOfficial for more information. As we will head on to, I believe, Escort now, D'Angelo, with Boise State sitting up 1. And is there anything you've seen from Bryant Stratton that might lean to a certain map choice for them to maybe get one back here against Boise State in the quarterfinals?
They definitely want to pick something with not a ton of flank routes, because that was definitely killing them against Boise State Blue. They were definitely having a really, really unfortunate time, especially when McCree is not a very mobile hero. So if you have the ability to flank him, normally he can deal with one flanker, but he can't deal with 2 or 3 coming at him from different angles, which is exactly what Boise State was doing to completely counterpick their counterpick, because they initially went McCree for Plato's super dominant Tracer.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to see what we want to pick. Of course, since it isn't hybrid, we don't have to see King's Row yet. Yet.
Being the key word.
We might see it in Game 3, but we will have to wait and see. And I'm really curious because it really feels like another one of those instances we talked about in the pre-show. Boise State Blue, they've fully gone in on this new meta, and other teams are sort of like, but I really like Winston Wrecking Ball. I don't want to get rid of it just yet. And they're sort of like, there's this weird middle ground. We haven't seen Boise State run Moira in a while. As I mentioned, Asu's been like completely Brig. No other team really feels confident bringing out the Brig, and it really sounds like Boise State Blue is just like, hey, we just adapted faster than you guys did.
I sincerely wonder about Asu and whether or not he's happy on that Brig, because he was definitely unhappy being a Mercy one trick there. But I'm curious, because he initially climbed to Masters on Baptiste, so I'm curious as to how he feels about just being insta-locked on Brig now.
And he's played it really well. I mean, he's been a big reason why Boise State has been able to go this far. I mean, of course, the blue team dominating in the regular season as well. But Brig, another one here, as we talked about McCree, she received a decent amount of changes. Also, Baptiste got some changes as well. We've seen Boise State pull it out from time. So maybe Asu could say, hey, guys, like, can I go on to, like, my favorite hero, please? He did get recently buffed. Like, please, maybe?
Please, maybe. No is the answer.
Play Brig. Just swing your mace around.
You play Brig.
Yeah,
you play
exactly.
Brig, you self-sustain, you're fine. Because that is the point of what Boise State is doing. Each individual member, with the exception of the Zen that they ran on the first map, has their own self-sustain. Like, they can keep themselves alive. And so that's how Boise State was able to have a lot of success picking those like 1v1s against the DPS, which normally you don't want to do, but in that comp it's really all about getting the kills that you need to get.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see as well if they bring out the Zenyatta, because you mentioned, yes, it was a large bagel dying first.
Yes.
But they were usually trading that for a Winston kill because he was diving in so far, and it's one of those where it doesn't look great, but it's actually the right play. So I'll be really curious to see how Bryant Stratton adapts. I would say don't bring out the Sigma, because if you allow Goblin to duplicate on the Sigma, not only do you have one Gravitic Flux, you now have 2, and teams have just kind of been thrown up and thrown down repeatedly and just immediately collapsed to the floor. So not bringing the Sig, not always a bad idea when you have a Goblin player like Goblin, or an Echo player like Goblin, who could just duplicate and say, hey, now we have 2 Sigs.
I would absolutely love to see the duo Sig there, because it takes down 50% of your health every time you're slammed up and back down. So it really just takes 2. And like 15 seconds, it takes like 15 seconds for all of that to happen. 15 seconds of just people doing this on your screen. And that just sounds like an absolutely amazing thing to experience. And so I sincerely hope they do pull out the Sigma. And I actually think a Sigma might help them a little bit because he offers more team protection than Winston, but he has more self-sustain than Ryan. Like, he can't get run over as easily as Ryan can.
We'll have to see here. Looks like we are going to hop into Dorado here, and it looks like for now Bryant Stratton is like, hey guys, let's maybe go back to what we tried in game 1 with the Pharmacy. They've also put the Soldier and their own Zenyatta out. Boise State, a large big on that center. Hey, Ace, we got to play something different. At least for now. At least for now.
He got to play Baptiste, which is absolutely amazing there. We should see some absolutely amazing Baptiste play. Usually comboing with the Soldier probably for an ultimate. That kind of sounds scary, amp visor. So I really hope that Bryant Stratton is ready for that.
And we do see the double shield pulled out for the first time this game for Boise State. Winner of this will go to the semifinals. They'll play the winner of Mizzou and Northwood, two powerhouses. Ooh. Speaking of that, Goblin immediately brings down the Pharah. Gordup taken out of the sky. And hey, there goes Touchstone, so there's no res available, and that's going to be interesting to see what Bryant Stratton wants to do. So far, the Bobcats have continued to push, and Narwhal takes down Plato. Goblin with his third kill of the opening fight, and he'll make it 4 for himself at Boise State with a clean win here to kick things off.
Goblin carry, question mark? That was an absolutely amazing job there. He went up as a solo Echo against the Far Mercy, and I don't think the Far Mercy was ready for them, as shown by the fact that they both just died very, very quickly. And once you're down your Far Mercy, that's when Boise State hard engaged. And I mean, Soldier was the price, but he'll be back before next fight.
Looks like we have seen Bryant switch over. Gordup now on the Tracer, and Goblin maybe going a little bit too ham that time. Gets soloed out. Nowhere close to the rest of the Boise State team. We'll see if he can get back in the fight. Kell's going to pick up Gordup, so Boise State 6v5 does not care as they take down one. They even things out. Immortality field from Asu to keep Guac alive, and a large bagel going to take down OBL. Plato's there. Now Goblin's back in the fight. He'll pick up 2 right when Boise State needs him, and then unfortunately for Bryant Stratton, there wasn't a whole lot going on after they took down Goblin.
Goblin's back in the fight, and he wants you to know it. So he's just going to go ahead and light up that kill feed there. You know the second he is back. And now, he's going to do it again. He's going to walk away from Boise State and either pick half their team or just die, and then come back and then kill half their team.
He does have the duplicate available, so he will have that second life in a sense. Trying to find someone to copy, and he's going to copy the Zenyatta of all people and immediately get run down, both the duplicate and his own life immediately taken out. So once again, Boise State's going to have to fight at 65. They do not care as a large bagel and Plato immediately pick up their counterparts there in the Zenyatta and the Soldier. The Ant Matrix is online for Asu. The Tac Visor coming up incredibly soon as well as Gordup goes down. And once again, Boise State's like, hey Goblin, we don't need you. You just kind of annoy the enemy team and we'll finish off the rest.
You just kind of annoy the enemy team. However, to Goblin's credit, sometimes it works.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works and half their team is dead and it's an absolutely amazing job. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes Goblin is just messing around and that's very apparent.
Hey, he does swap over to the Tracer, so he's had enough of the Echo shenanigans. We'll see what he wants to do. Looks like the mirror comp's nearly identical. Minefield does come out from OBL. Tac Visor and Transcendence committed by Fabian and Cole the Crazy. We see an Ant Matrix has gone down from Asu, a Transcendence by a large bagel. And now there's the Tac Visor through the window by Plato, and Boise State's going to pick up 2. They have lost Kell, but unfortunately for Bryant Stratton, all they're going to get is a Minefield kill onto Goblin. They're down 3 members. Pulse Bomb does take out another one onto Guac. Gordup doing a really good job on that Tracer. Cole the Crazy gets taken down by Plato, who's now shifted over to potentially the hard carry question mark, as you like to say, D'Angelo. Unfortunately for him, he's running out of backline members. Kell's going to take down Fabian. He's easy to rejoin the fight, and Gordup's got to blink away. And a back-and-forth fight is going to favor Boise State, the defender, here early on.
Back-and-forth fights normally don't favor the defenders, but in this case, it definitely is working for the side of Boise State, and I think that part of that is because of hard DPS carry. Plato did an absolutely amazing job there, and they just haven't had any answer to him, really, like, at all, and I think it's definitely flipped things in Boise State's favor, so good job, Plato.
Critic Flux comes out, takes down 1. We saw the swap over the Roadhog, was not able to do much, as Boise State's going to pick up 4 off of that. Cole the Crazy and Gordup just barely able to potentially get away. No, all the Bryant Stratton picks up there is the Supercharger, and there's one last fight for the Bobcats.
One last fight for the Bobcats, and they're not really sitting on any ultimates that they need to use. However, they'll have to walk into an Ant Matrix, so things are not looking very good.
do see they've swapped over to the SIG. OBL's able to force overtime, but pay for it with his life. There's a pulse bomb onto Narwhal. Just right now, Bryant Stratton, all they can do is contest the point. Gordup takes down Plato, but that's unfortunately all Bryant Stratton has going for them. Fabian goes down. OBL might be able to get back. Ant Matrix comes down just to stop him, and Boise State's going to easily defend with a 0-point hold there on Dorado.
Yes, and Boise State didn't even clean reset or do anything particularly strategically amazing to hold that first point. They just kind of popped off. They just kind of popped off and killed a lot of the Bobcats. And so on one hand, I'm happy that they held the point, but on the other hand,
yeah, it wasn't the cleanest we've ever seen, but as you mentioned, it was just kind of Goblin started it. Plato was like, "Hey, Goblin, you've fallen off. I'll be the one who's on fire now." And it was just really a hard DPS carry for Boise State of keep Plato alive, and the soldiers going to mow everybody down. And Bryant Stratton, as we always talk about in Doc Tease of the game, their target focus kind of lacking because I don't think Plato died once that entire round.
He died once after they forced it into overtime, and it was unfortunately too little too late.
They were like, no perfection. Everyone kill Plato, and then we just die.
Just if we kill Plato, that is personal victory. I will say things are not going to look good for Boise State Blue if they go against the likes of Northwood the way they're playing right now, because you're going to need to be strategically solid and everybody playing their best as a team, not as a backline hero.
Yeah, that could be the opponent for Boise State should they finish this one off in the best of 5 in the quarterfinals of the Nace Skill Shot Overwatch playoffs against Bryant Stratton. Northwood and Mizzou playing right now. Northwood has already won Hugh Fest, a tournament Boise State finished top 16 in earlier this year, so you know the Timberwolves would be a very, very difficult opponent should Boise State win this. And they're trending in the right direction, as we see. Looks like it is going to be a 1-point hold here attempt from Bryant Stratton. They're sitting up on the high ground. They have gone to the Rhine Roadhog as well, but they're keeping on the Mercy for now, so we'll see if they find any success. Goblin doing what he wants. He's on the junk. Rat as a large bagel gets the first pick onto Fabian. They will get the res, though, so back at full strength. No punish from Boise State. Squawk is now taken out by Fabian, who was just res. So a great play there from the Mercy. Narwhal dropping low, but for Boise State, Immortality Field has to be used there to keep Asu alive. Now that it's faded, he will be taken out by Cold the Crazy, and Bryant Stratton coming out with an early good hold here against Boise State.
Bryant Stratton shooting down at Boise State Blue from the high ground like fish in a barrel, and Boise State are just dying.
Yeah, Boise State has not had an answer for this high ground. As you see, they fully respawn. Kel's just barely remaining alive. Nope. Unfortunately, that will end as soon as I try and mention it. You see Gordup hiding up there, and already a Valkyrie online, and Boise State's ultimate is very, very far away. Have to see if they want to make any changes, but for now, Boise State's like, let's see you guys do it again, and that's a great way to start. Goblin's going to pick up Fabian. He gets res once again. This time, they do get the punish onto Gordup, so it will still be a 6v5. Valkyrie's available for Tatsuo if he wants to use it. He has no idea that Plato is behind him, has to use the Valkyrie to get out of dodge. Now Boise State's starting to run down the Bobcats here. Still waiting on their ultimates. They're close on a couple of them. Riptire going to be the first one that's activated as OBL gets taken down. Tac Visor online. Pulse Bomb picks him up, but he does trade 1-for-1. Ant Matrix has been used. There's a Riptire as well, but unfortunately, I don't know if there's any targets left as it takes down Narwhal and Boise State. Right now, it's only Cole the Crazy who's just transcendent things, so he can't be taken out. Now he can. He immediately falls over. OBL rejoins the fight, gets halted onto the payload. He will go down, and unfortunately for the Bobcats, they are just running in one at a time to die. As there goes the Wrecking Ball, and Boise State, very long engaged D'Angelo, but they end up pulling it off here to put themselves on match point.
Yes, it really only took them 2 fights. Their first fight was an absolute mess, but their second fight, they did much better.
Yeah, the second fight was like a really weird extended engage, and Gordup was off doing his own thing. And I have to say, that seems to be the one thing I've noticed is it feels like Gordup has been picked a couple times by Boise State, and that has flipped it because unlike the Broncos, Bryant Stratton has not had a great time fighting in the 5v6. As we see our Great 8 here, we'll have the Boise State Orange versus Ontario Tech game after this, and if either team wins, which it looks like Boise State Blue is on the cusp of, we'll have the semifinal matchup between Boise State and the winner of their opponents, either Northwood versus Missouri or Michigan Tech and Midland if Orange team wins. And Northwood and Mizzou, the winner of that game and the winner of the Boise State Blue potentially in that game, probably going to be your champion. The left side of the bracket feels like the stronger side, but who knows what could happen right now, the Angel. But it really feels like Boise State does a great job at getting back to what I was talking about, picking off Gordup, and then shutting everything down for Bryant Stratton.
Yes. So Gordo did the same thing that Goblin did, but with much less success because Plato wasn't there to cover his butt and just pop off while he was coming back from spawn. So we've seen a lot of DPS flanks to not a lot of success. There are a couple of them that were huge, but for the most part, they haven't been very successful at all. So I really hope Boise State Blue gets all that out of their system now and does not play like that against Northwood or Mizzou, because if they play like that against Northwood or Mizzou, they're going to get eaten alive.
Yeah, no offense to Bryant, Stratton, as we do see Kings Row is the next pick, but in some of the coaches polls we've seen, Northwood a top 5 program. I think Mizzou's coming in at number 7, so these are definitely talented programs that is going to be in the winner of that game in the semifinals, potentially against Boise State Blue. The Broncos right now a 2-0 lead. We're going to Kings Row. Bryant, Stratton picking it. We'll see if the Bobcats have an answer. They've had a couple of fights where you're like, hey, maybe this is working, but they really haven't put together a long-term map plan that makes you think Boise State Blue is not going to wrap things up here on Kings Row.
Yes, it doesn't necessarily. Things are looking pretty nice for Boise State Blue to wrap this up. However, they are definitely making a lot of mistakes that could be capitalized on. Their fights are very, very scrappy, very, very drawn out. People don't usually clean reset or get out. They just kind of feed ult charge. And that's kind of hurt. It hurt them against the Bobcats, but it's really going to hurt them against teams that hard engage, recognize those mistakes, and take you out on those mistakes.
Yeah, it feels like Boise State's sort of gone with this whole, well, we can win the 1v1s. I mean, we talked about it in other games where we can just win the gunfights. We know we're mechanically more skilled, and that's going to be why we win. And that's kind of what you mentioned, D'Angelo. That's what it feels like we're seeing here from Boise State. Now, when they get against a school that might be better or equal skilled, it's not going to work. So I'd love to see Kings Row be just a nice clean, maybe a 3-0. They absolutely just run over the Bobcats. But it will be curious to see. And also, the meta's so new that maybe, Northwood or Mizzou has a plan that nobody's seen before, or that at least nobody's running, and it's hard to adjust to because Bryant Stratton is all over the place now. They're going to bring out the Zarya. They're going to try their own Echo, it looks like. I really don't know where the Bobcats are going, but they got to come up with something here on Kings Row.
It looks like they're going for like a hybrid kind of. It looks like they're going for a brawl comp because they have the Zarya and the Reinhardt and then the Moira and the Lucio. So it looks like they want to try to be up close, but then both of their DPS, Echo benefits sometimes from being up close, but Soldier, you usually want him at mid-range there. So I think they just have him for high ground control because that's something you need on Kings Row.
And we haven't seen the Bobcats pull out any of the 2 most recently buffed supports in Baptiste and Briggs. Something Asu has played both of as he's on that Baptiste. Rezo on the Hanzo gets the first pick onto OBL, who's now switched over to the Zarya for the first time. Fabian gets one onto Plato. We can just see how low the health bars are for Bryant Stratton. They should be able to retreat potentially back to their spawn if they want to reset. Doesn't look like they're going to take it by choice, but they'll be forced back in there as Boise State's going to pick up a nice fork and only a large bagel eliminated.
Now Fish. This is really unfortunate. Running Ryan Zarya into a full spam comp. Just a moment of silence for any Reinhardt mains in the chat. It's not fun to run that into spam.
Well, they have already given up on the Zarya. OBL has decided that Sigma is now his hero of choice, so he'll have that Gravitic Flux available potentially. Immortality Field used there. Ant Matrix comes down from Asu. We do see that the Immortality Field's been taken down, but that's about all Bryant Stratton's going to find as Fabian and Narwhal, the first targets eliminated. OBL's going to join in the parade, and Boise State kicking off Kings Row where we saw on Dorado. An excellent couple of fights.
An excellent couple of fights indeed. They're just spamming that choke. And it's ironic that they chose to swap the Zarya instead of the Reinhardt because Zarya actually benefits from spam, whereas spam is Reinhardt's literal worst nightmare.
Yeah, it definitely feels like Bryant Stratton has gone with, hey, this is what we're comfortable on. This is what's got us this far in this tournament. We'll be able to play it. You see Gravitic Flux up for Kill. Shatter up for Narwhal, so maybe he's able to hit something onto Boise State and potentially flip the fight there. Gordup hasn't gotten much value on the Echo, at least not as much as we've seen from Goblin, who actually not in on this fight, as Rezo is. There's a Dragon Strike combined with the Gravitic Flux. That's going to be a 3K for Boise State. Gordup has to use the duplicate onto the Sigma. Unfortunately, it does not look like his health is going to cooperate, as I don't think he's going to get a Gravitic Flux. No, he will not. The duplicate is taken down, and then he will follow shortly after. And Boise State right now just combining these ultimates perfectly because, oh, by the way, they used to in that fight. They still have 4 left.
Yes, they still have 4 left, and the Bobcats don't really have anything to super push with. I mean, they have Visor, but they haven't been able to get their Soldier in a position where he's going to get any value out of that.
Supercharger came down, immediately taken out by a Narwhal. We see a Gravitic Flux used there by OBL, and Attack Visor by Fabian. And an Ant Matrix Transcendence going to keep Boise State alive as they'll trade 2 for 1. Mortality Field doing the rest of the work as well. Rezo and Kel taking some damage, but it looks like they should be able to sustain. No, Kel cannot. Gordup's going to pick that one, but still for Bryant Stratton, they still cannot get through that choke that Boise State has been spamming through. Now finally they'll round the corners. The Broncos wait for the respawns here. Large Bagel looking to get a snipe, did some damage onto OBL, but can't quite finish him off. Plato can with the Orb of Discord, transferred over to Tutso, who will immediately, no he won't, he will survive. Fabian's gonna take down a Large Bagel. There's a Dragon Strike that's gonna come through. The res onto OBL does get off though, as Boise State's now gonna trade 1 for 1. Cold the Crazy and Plato taking out Immortality Field from Boise State. Not really, maybe a panic coming out because you see the health bars pretty all sustained. Rezo picks up 2. Valkyrie committed there by Tatsuo, but Boise State once again driving Bryant Stratton back, and the Bobcats get 2 things onto the checkpoint, but right now they have not been able to find anything, and they're starting to run out of time as OBL will go down, and it's potentially last fight here for Bryant Stratton.
Bryant Stratton should not have backed off when they were equal. I mean, they're running the Reinhardt, which makes me think that it's like a comfort pick or something for them. And like the golden rule of Reinhardt is if you can get on top of him, you get on top of him. But that's not what we saw, and they were punished for that, especially when our soldier was dead.
I never saw the Shatter come out, and in the last fight, Bryant Stratton has swapped over. They're going to bring out Roadhog, Sig, and Baptiste all off the flip here, so they're not going to have their ultimates available for this last fight. Gordup will, and he'll duplicate right onto the Sigma. Kel's going to use the Gravitic Flux and slam everybody down. Fabian goes down, but a great Immortality Field from Tatsuo to keep everyone alive. Unfortunately for the Bobcats, they had no idea Plato was there with Attack Visor. Him and the rest of Boise State going to wrap things up. It's a team kill for the Broncos, and overtime's going to go nowhere. And Boise State has their sights set on the semifinals.
Boise State has their sights set on the semifinals indeed, and they're doing an amazing job there. I don't think the Bobcats know what to do with spam, to be perfectly honest, because they stayed on the Reinhardt for a really long time, swapped off of the Zarya, who can actually benefit from spam, and then swapped off of the Reinhardt onto a Roadhog, who also gets eaten alive by spam, because really, all Hog is to a spam comp is just an ult battery. So I really don't think they understood the type of comp that Boise State Blue was running and the sorts of goals that they were going for. At least their tank picks make me think that they had no idea how to play against the spam comp.
Yeah, I mean, these are tank picks that in the meta that we saw for most of the regular season would be really strong in terms of the Roadhog and Reinhardt. So while I said I was a fan of at least the new meta coming out when the playoffs started, there will be fans and teams who say, well, it's not really fair because we made it this far on Reinhardt, and now we're forced to completely give it up and adapt on the fly. And it is a very interesting thing when you're not at the professional level and you don't have the choice to say, hey, let's play on an old patch. You've got to play on whatever the game is. So unfortunately, Bryant Stratton, they've been a little slow to adapt. They're going to bring out the double shield. They're basically going to copy Boise State's comp, and meanwhile the Broncos have the Statue of Liberty, the Statue of Pain. They're all set up, ready to go if they want to pull it out off the spawn and really go to the semifinals with a bang.
I want to see this bang.
They're setting up for it. It's all on Plato here to get a great teleport up top. Allow Rezo to get up there. He's going to drop it down. No, he's going to bail. Looks like they thought Bryant Stratton was ready to go. Now he's going to drop it up there. The little bit of the bait. Rezo immediately goes up there and starts just mowing people down, but Fabian was ready for it. We do see the resurrect attempted by Asu, but Gordup's going to take him down. And Boise State's little cheese comp there not going to find home. And it looks like the Broncos, I'm going to guess, will probably just reset here and swap over to here so they're more comfortable on and find a way into the semifinals.
That makes a lot of sense there. Bryant Stratton was definitely ready, or if they weren't ready, they could have fooled me because it seemed like they had the absolute perfect counter to that. They immediately killed the Bastion and then denied the Mercy res just like they were supposed to do. It seems like that cheese comp is a comp they understand much better than spam.
Yeah, and we see Boise State, they have full swapped, only the Ana and the Sigma remaining from that attempted comp. We'll see what Boise State wants to do. The Nano is close for a large bagel, but Boise State's health bars are not, as they are all sitting around 50%. Immortality Field for Asu should still be available. He's got the Orb of Discord right now, and a large bagel has the Nano dropping low. There's the Immortality Field. Who's he going to find the Nano onto? Looks like right now he's still holding onto it. There's not a lot of ults close. He will Nano Guac as he gets taken out from Attack Visor Amp combo that we've seen Boise State run. Immortality Field from Tetsuo taken down, but Fabian and Cole the Crazy going to pick up 2 more. Gordup gets another one. That's what we talked about in the Open, D'Angelo. Teams not always ready for the new meta, but once Boise State stomped them 2 or 3 maps in a row, they're like, oh, hey, let's just play what Boise State does because it's working for a reason.
Yes, they did cleanly win that fight, but I think that's exactly what Boise State wanted. They wanted to go in with a dry fight, and now if you look at the ultimate bars, Boise State is setting up pretty nicely to take this point.
Yeah, the only ult used by Boise State, the Nano from a large bagel, but you have to think he used it because he knew he was swapping over to the Zenyatta. So might as well use the ult before you go down. There's an Ant Matrix from Ace, who's going to be the first thing taken out. Gravitic Flux has been used by OBL. Plato has committed the Tac Visor. The Broncos able to hold on. Immortality Field after the fact, and now Kel's going to commit his own Gravitic Flux. Cole the Crazy has used the Transcendence. It's not enough to save OBL, and now the Broncos starting to push home as the Dragon Strike will come through. And Boise State right now just pushing back the numbers of Bryant. Stratton, Gordup using the duplicate on to Soldier, popped the Tac Visor, but unfortunately a little bit of a C9 for Bryant Stratton. Boise State easily going to meet the target, and Boise State 3-0s their way into the semifinals for the Blue Squad.
Boise State, that is how you use an Amp Matrix. That was an absolutely amazing job there. That was the biggest ultimate they had there. I actually do think that the large bagel swap onto Zenyatta, I do actually think he should have used that Nano in the last fight, but they won it anyway, so that's neither here nor there. But Nano, especially if you're just trying to out-ult them and all you need to take is a couple of ticks, definitely worth it.
So you immediately hop into the ICCU player of the game. I was going to say it might have been Goblin for how he played, but he did sort of fall off, and it's going to go over to Asu, player we were just actually talking about earlier on about how he probably might not like playing the Brig, but he got to play on that Baptiste on Dorado and Kingsborough, and he played it excellently, especially with those Amp Matrix.
He played it excellently. This is just an amazing play reel in general. He yeeted the nice little Immortality Field over there, saved the Orisa, did an absolutely fantastic job. Asu really does make this team much more successful.
So we see here, also got to play the Brig on Control, and you just see why people hate this champion when she's strong. Just, he's swinging a mace, gets down to 19 HP, self-sustains, literally is not dying at this point. I'm sure no one is happy that this champion is back in the meta at all.
I happen to know for a fact that Beanie Bum is very happy that Brig is now more playable in the meta.
Well, we'll see what Beanie Bum wants to do. He's on the orange team, and he's coming up next. But as you alluded to, D'Angelo, Asu, the player of the game, as ICCU says that a great player makes a team more successful, just like they're helping their members achieve financial success. And Asu, and this insane highlight reel, it doesn't go to supports very often. Of course, a lot of this, helping out with the Amp Matrix is onto the Soldier. He's a big reason why Boise State is 3-0ing their way to the semifinals. They'll play the winner of Northwood and Mizzou coming up later tonight. We'll see if the Orange Squad can join them, maybe even set up a Boise State final. But the Orange Squad's got to get past Ontario Tech in our next game here in the quarterfinals.
It's always a good day to be a Boise State fan, but it's an absolutely amazing day when both of your teams are in the top 8.
Yeah, I mean, if both teams get to the top 4, and especially if both teams get to the championship, I know some people might be like, okay, why are there both teams in here? Should they be playing each other? Look, if they win through, you know what? Then it's deserved. They had to play in the same group. They had to play each other in the regular season. So if they're in the championship game, that would be fantastic. But both teams have a long way to go, especially the Orange team. They've still got to take down Ontario Tech here. So it is going to be interesting. As we mentioned, it's Boise State Orange, Ontario Tech in our next quarterfinal. It's coming up after our top 5 plays from the Bronco Blue teams march to the semifinals in their 3-0 win over Bryant Stratton. Fish and D'Angelo coming back with more Nace playoff action after these top 5. And it was really a great job by Bryant Stratton. Goblin. Because right now he's done some damage, but the Valkyrie comes out from Tetsuo. Looks like Goblin's barely hanging on as Fabian gets a first pick onto a large bagel. But there goes Gordup. Could not find the last shot he needed onto Goblin. Ace2 has fallen. Gravitic Flux from Kel. Going to be used right on the point to smash down Mercy. And like we've seen so far, D'Angelo, 1 kill turns into 5 immediately for Boise State Blue.
Yes, absolutely.
Go on to the Winston. Kel takes down Narwhal, and it looks like OBL is just going to self-suicide, and it looks like Bryant Stratton probably wants to reset here for the last fight.
Boise State is... Yes, Boise State is doing a nice job here. It took us 96% to figure out there, and we did have a little hiccup there with last fight with
Bobcats, and Fabian's going to be the first one to press Q this match. And bang, 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 not going to find anything. Not to my surprise at all, as Boise State now finds two more. And it looks like that McCreo might have allowed things for Boise State to turn around, because ever since then, they have racked up eliminations. Minefield does come down from OBL. Fabian, though, has been on fire. He picks up a large bagel for Plato, and Nace will take him down. Rally does. Yet Fabian's able to blink away and heal. Plato take it low. He will be able to reverse time, and neither Tracer take it low, but they are very scary. We do see the pharmacy brought out from Bryant Stratton, but there is no mercy now as Kel gets the first elimination, but they'll trade it for a large bagel. Plato finally picks one up onto Narwhal as the point has unlocked. Boise State now trying to run through the remaining health bars. You can see the box hit something onto Boise State and potentially flip the fight there. Gordup hasn't gotten much value on the Echo, at least not as much as we've seen from Goblin, who actually not in on this fight, as Rezo is. There's a Dragon Strike combined with the Great Flux. That's going to be a 3K for Boise State. Gordup has to use the duplicate onto the Sigma.
Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your guard adventure.
Here in Idaho, we do things a little differently. First rule, camouflage never goes out of style. Next, always use fry sauce. I mean, why wouldn't you? Hold steady when out-of-state friends think you're from Iowa. We call it pop, not soda. We always put a lift on our pickups. And we always buckle up, because we still have a lot we want to do, and I'm guessing you do too.
Legendary parts for legendary wins.
Growing up in Idaho, we have certain rules we live by. Hold steady when out-of-state friends think you're from Iowa. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Welcome back into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. We're on to our second quarterfinals match of the night. It's Boise State Orange taking on Ontario Tech. Winner will move on to the semifinals on the opposite side of the bracket of Boise State Blue, who just 3-0'd Bryant Stratton. And we've been told during the break that Northwood also 3-0'd Mizzou. So it will be Boise State Blue and Northwood coming up in our next match of the night. If Boise State Orange can take down Ontario Tech, we would have one more semifinal. We'll have to see if the Broncos are able to do that, because right now Boise State Orange, we talked about it a little bit, D'Angelo. Blue's been all in on this new meta. They fully committed to double shield. They fully committed to the McCree. Boise State Orange, they've been getting 3-0s. They've been a lot closer 3-0s, and they've had the reliance of, all right, let's go back to that Sombra. Let's bring Frost back in on the Sombra. Let's just kind of hug the old meta, and I'll be really curious how this game against Ontario Tech goes and if the Ridgebacks have adapted to the new meta and forced Boise State to be uncomfortable, because as you mentioned, McCree is a great Sombra counter, and if Frost brings out the Sombra into a McCree, it could be a long series for the Broncos.
Could be a long series for Frost in particular, feeling real bad as he's hard countered.
Yeah, I'll be really curious to see how these games go. Boise State Orange, still the top seed on the B side of the bracket, could have a revenge match against Midland in the semifinals if they win this, but they've got to get through Ontario Tech here. And as we've talked about, Boise State Orange has been 3-0ing teams, but it's not the comfortable 3-0. It's the 100-99 on control. It's the 3-2 overtime win, or the 3-3 overtime win on Escort and Hybrid. So here we go. Here's a bracket recap. Boise State has beaten Bryant Stratton. The blue team did that just moments ago. So they are on to the semifinals, where in probably what many people might consider the actual championship match, no offense to anyone else, Northwood 3-0ing Mizzou. Boise State and Northwood, both top Overwatch programs in the country. They'll be taking it on the A side of the bracket. Meanwhile, on the B side, it's Boise State Orange taking on Ontario Tech. Winner will go to the semifinals, where they will play the winner of Midland and Michigan Tech. I know the Orange team for Boise State has lost to Midland in a different competition, and I'm sure the Broncos would love some revenge, but they've got to put all of their attention towards Ontario Tech. The Ridgebacks, a very tough opponent for Boise State, and could potentially stop. Will be a great little storyline of Boise State having two teams in the top four, because we know one team's already there, D'Angelo. If you had 50% of the semifinals, that sends a message to everybody else that you have 12 talented Overwatch players.
Absolutely. And I mean, having both of your teams in the top 8 already shows that you're a really good program for recruiting players and that sort of thing. And so it really is quite an amazing day to be a Boise State fan, whether Orange win or loses this next match. However, I mean, we do want them to win, obviously. It would be nice if they just 3-0'd, comfort win or not. I think you're being awfully picky. A 3-0 is a 3-0. It doesn't matter if it was 99 to 100.
It's still been really, really close. As we see here, Doc's keys to the game. We've talked about it all the time. Never take a fair fight means taking fights in unexpected places when the other team's not prepared, and when you can have the ability advantages. It's something that we didn't really see Boise State Blue do. Boise State Blue kind of just relied on mechanical skill to just sort of win even 5v6s when they were the ones in the unfair position. So we'll see if Boise State Orange can take advantage of Doc's keys to the game. It's all brought to you by Count, of course, whose Identity Trust Global Network delivers real-time fraud prevention, account protection, and a personalized customer experience for more than 9,000 leading brands and payment providers. It's the holiday season. You want to do your shopping online. You want to go check out Count so you can stay safe. KOUNT.com for more information. We got the second quarterfinals of the night kicking off here. Boise State Orange and Ontario Tech. And it looks like for Boise State Orange, there is that Sombra for Frost, and Blitz is on that McCree. It's going to be a matchup that I know we want to keep our eyes on.
That is absolutely going to be a matchup that we want to keep our eyes on. However, we do know which way it should go. The McCree should win that. The McCree should absolutely win that. And if he doesn't, there is something wrong.
See what they want to do. I know we talked about Beanie Bum really liking the Brig choice. Not going to be coming out here for now as we kick things off. Wants to keep an eye on as Rick as well on the Mercy, as he doesn't have a pocket at all, something like we've seen from Bryant Stratton with the Pharmacy. Boise State's going to take the fight right to the Ridgebacks there over around the corner. Hack going to go on to Calcium, and that's the first elimination. Nacho Time dropping low. Can Boise State maybe pick things up here? They'll take down Slifer instead. The Broncos really starting to run down Ontario Tech. They'll pick up 2 and abandon the point, because why not?
Abandon the point once it's unlocked. Looks like Icy's thinking about it. There we go. Icy over there doing what Beanie Bum refers to as the Lord's work, capping the point. pretty clean fight win from Boise State there going in on that off-meta pick or not.
Yeah, it was a great hack. I mean, even with the matchup we talked about, if Frost can find high-value hacks, he found one onto Calcium there, can't leap away on the Winston, and it opens things up for Boise State. Blitz already has the Deadeye. Wow, that is incredibly fast. Looks like Boise State just going to all smartly line of sight. Unfortunately, Pleb can't quite make it around the corner, neither can Quidgible's mech. So great job there by Blitz, and that immediately flips the fight. Boise State just gets wiped on the floor, and not often do we see a McCree Deadeye win a fight.
Yeah, how's that feel, Fish? How's it feel casting that, Fish?
If players pull it off, I'll be impressed. Because usually, it takes like 3 ults. They've got a combo, a Shatter into a Gravitic Flux, and then they pick up 4. Blitz just absolutely
shot Pleb.
Yeah, he just shot Pleb. He shot Quidgible's mech, and they're like, well, that was easy, and then they just ran him down. Good thing for Boise State. They do have a hack still, and Nacho Time pays the price there. It has the minefield, could not use it. Valkyrie and the Primal Rage going to be committed by the side of Ontario Tech. Frost looking for a hack target. Can't quite find it, unfortunately, and Rick's able to res Nacho Time. It was Frost's try, and he couldn't get it. Blitz going to pick up something onto Pleb. Once again, there's the Deadeye for Narbles. He will unfortunately find the way of what we usually see in just hit markers. He will be able to assist on a takedown of Blitz, but for Boise State, that's all they're going to get, and it looks like McCree play going to be maybe the biggest thing we have to watch in this matchup. Right now, Blitz easily winning that 1v1 versus Narbles.
Boise State also made a huge misplay there by not using the EMP early. You want to try to get the drop on them, and they should not have let that Mercy res. Valking or otherwise, she was literally in the middle of them, and there was like no excuse for them to let that happen.
Do see Coalescence is up. Another Deadeye for Blitz is on the corner if he wants to use it. Right now he has gotten some insane value, 1.5 kills depending on how much you value a Diva mech, and really putting it on Boise State as the Broncos were dominating until that Deadeye came out. Here it is once again. The Broncos will try and line a sight. Once again, Pleb cannot get around the corner. Pleb has faced the mercy of that Deadeye 2 times in a row, and Boise State looks like they want to retreat for Moira to be up for a last fight.
Moira's having a really unfortunate time against Ontario Tech's McCree. He's been getting Pleb out. He's been catching Pleb out in all kinds of rotations, and that is absolutely what is winning them fights here.
Coalescence from Golden Weave comes out as Frost was taken down by Slifer. Boise State's in overtime here. Primal Rage committed. The minefield and the Pulse Bomb will come out. They won't find anything, but Blitz and Calcium will pick up 2. And it looks like for Boise State, unfortunately, all they're going to eliminate is some proximity mines there from Icy. We are going to see that Primal Rage has been faded. Valkyrie being used here by Rick. And for Boise State right now, doesn't look like they're going to find a way in. I saw the EMP's been used by Frost, but I didn't even see it land onto anyone. Maybe it landed just onto Slifer. It looks like Ontario Tech's going to pick up the first map on control.
It landed onto 5 people, but there was nobody to follow up on it, as is usually the case with failed EMPs. It's usually not necessarily the EMP itself, but the follow-up there. Boise State held on to that EMP for way too long, and while it EMP'd 5 people, that doesn't matter if you don't follow up on it at all. And we've seen McCree get the best of Pleb a couple of times, and if Boise State's going to win this and turn it around, Pleb really needs to watch those corners more, and he really, really needs to stay out of the sights of that McCree.
Boise State looks like they're going to go for a full swap. They brought out the double shield. They brought out the Brig and the Baptiste. Narbles going to stay on the McCree. And it looks a lot like what we saw from Boise State Blue for the most part, with Narbles sitting in on that McCree. Frost can't quite pick. Looks like he'll eventually settle in on the Tracer. Ontario Tech has brought out the Orisa as well. They'll bring out the Roadhog this time to complement. And it looks like for the most part everything else can remain the same. Golden Weeb on the Ana, and the team's going to meet here. Looks like a little bit of a divided fight for Boise State. They want to try and get a flank on to the side of Ontario Tech. Nice halt there to pull them out in line of sight just for a little bit. You see shields all around the spot trying to protect Boise State from as much damage as possible, and it's working out. Nacho Time and Slifer incredibly low. The Broncos haven't found an elimination, but Narbles gets one onto Slifer, and now we're going to see Ontario Tech heading for the hills. Calcium the next elimination. Blitz dropping low, and much like we saw on the first control map, Rez does come out on the Calcium. You have to think he's just going to try and retreat away or feed the kill scats for Boise State. It's an early win for Ontario Tech, but the Ridgebacks this time did pick up the first point.
That Mercy shouldn't have necessarily res there. I mean, I get the idea of wanting to try to stall the fight, but really all she did was feed Boise State extra ult charge, with which they are more than happy to accept there, as we're sitting almost on Ant Matrix and almost on Gravitic Flux, and we have Pulse Bomb. So Boise State is sitting at a significant ultimate advantage, and Ontario Tech seems to be falling into the same trap that Boise State did last map with the Sombra.
Nice little halt hook combo there
no.
from Nacho Time on Dequigible, who he will fall to his environmental death. Deadeye and the Pulse Bomb going to come out. Unfortunately, they will find nothing as Narbles will get taken down by Calcium. Nacho Time with a second hook and an environmental kill. Slifer has swapped over to the Sombra. He'll pick up one. Beanie Bum gets one back. Does knock Nacho Time in, but for Boise State, that's all they've got going for him. And that was a great halt hook combo there from Ontario Tech.
That was a great halt hook combo and something that Boise State needs to practice and get much better at. Both of our tanks just got enviroed, and that is really, really unfortunate and a guaranteed lost fight for Boise State. And it looks like we're kind of swapping up comp here to try to get a little more spam, a little bit more damage going in.
Another halt there, and there's the hook once again. Blitz gets the kill, but Icy was dead regardless of what happened there. He does have the supercharger. We see a Deadeye from Blitz has been used. He will just hold on to it and force Boise State around the corner. So Pleb, unfortunately, will not meet his demise this time. But Rez does come out onto Nacho Time, has the whole hog. Slifer swap over to the Sombra has been amazing. Even with Narbles on the McCree, he's gotten a ton of value. He solos down Frost on that Hanzo, and Boise State's forced to retreat and wait for their respawning members.
Slifer must be a very comfortable Sombra. He's respecting Boise State's McCree enough to not get got, and it's absolutely working to the benefit of his team there.
Critic Flux comes out. Quidgible's got to be careful from the hack. He will be able to slam down. Just think he landed onto Blitz with the quarter from Calcium, stopping it. And a rally comes out from Beanie Bum. Supercharger has been used by Calcium. Nice stun from Narbles, but Blitz will win that battle of the McCrees. Frost is taking down Calcium Supercharger, and now he's going to take down Slifer. Beanie Bum and Quidgible going to combine to take down Nacho Time and Golden Weave. Slifer has been rezzed. Rick has been getting insane value with those rezzes and has rarely been punished. We are going to see Beanie Bum will just pad his stats as the reses haven't had high value. This side of Ontario Tech, they're going to swing it down. Beanie Bum picks up a triple kill with that mace, and Boise State flips the point at 94%.
Rick is getting a lot of mercy reses there, and he had one amazing one on the Hammond, but for the most part, and he had most of his reses on tanks have been pretty good, but he's also had a lot of what I like to call stat padding reses. You res it just so that you get your little stat up, and it makes you feel better.
I like Frost just shooting a wall, setting up for the Dragon Strike. We'll use it. Deadeye comes out from Blitz, hook onto Frost, but a nice little bump off the edge onto Nacho Time. So the teams will trade 1-for-1, and Deadeye is going to come out from Narbles. He can't find anything but some hit markers, but Icy's taking down Blitz, and Boise State still sitting up one here. Rick dropping low, can't get the res this time, even with the Valkyrie online, and Boise State's going to force Ontario Tech back, and it's one last chance here for the Ridgebacks.
Boise State did a nice job of coming back here. They were having an unfortunate time being held for a while, but now Boise State's sitting here with not only Supercharger, but also almost Amp Matrix. Things are looking pretty good for Boise State, but their success and whether or not they win this map will probably come down to Gravitic Flux.
There's the Supercharger being used at a 3-man EMP, but Slifer gets killed for it. Whole Hog and Valkyrie have been committed as well, and all they're able to do is find Frost there. There's the Gravitic Flux, has been committed onto 3 members. They go slamming down, but no one's eliminated, and plus Immortality Field will be taken out. Boise State here in overtime. They win this fight, they win this, and send us to map 3 on Controlled. Rally has been used as well as the Ant Matrix from Pleb. There's no ult available for Ontario Tech, though Calcium is getting close as well as Golden Weave, who has the Nano online. Nacho Time takes down Beanie Bum, so now Boise State sitting down 1. The Nano has gone out onto Calcium, and Narbles takes down Blitz as it's an even trade. Supercharger used there by Calcium. Narbles taking off 1% away from the Deadeye, and unfortunately for Boise State, the point has not only flipped in Ontario Tech's favor, but it looks like Blitz, who's going to get rezzed and get the Pulse Bomb off. It looks like this is complete change sides. Frost is going to just jump to his own death, and Boise State, that went from all Broncos to all Ridgebacks. They're going to get taken down, and Ontario Tech going to go up 1 map here in the quarterfinals.
They are up 1. I'm not happy about that last fight at all, as you can see, Fish. I'm kind of struggling a little bit with the way Boise State Orange played there.
Yeah, it felt like it was all Boise State. They even got an early pick onto Slifer, whose EMP did nada. And then Boise State just could not find the next elimination, and Rick has been doing a really good job. We'll get to that in a second. As 2020 has been a tough year, just like that control map was tough for Boise State, but Respawn wants to make it better. They partnered with Nace and eFuse to give away 250 gaming chairs to 18 different collegiate and high school programs. Programs can submit a video showing how the Respawn gaming chairs can transform their program. If they want more information, go check them out on Twitter at eFuseOfficial to get more information and help Respawn transform your program. And really what I want to talk about, D'Angelo, is the play of Rick. I mean, yes, they've been some stat padding reses, but very rarely has he been punished on a res. And that's really incredible that he's probably 5 for 5 on reses and hasn't died on a single one.
Yes, and part of that is absolutely Boise State's fault. So you choose to give the credit to Rick. I respect that. I believe that Boise State Orange could have done a little bit better denying some of those. However, Rick's mercy play was in general very good as well, as I believe is most showcased by the fact that he died last or not at all in most of the fights. I think that is the biggest testament to a mercy skill and really just support skill in general. And while we're talking about picks, Boise State lost that last fight and thus the map, or their chances at taking the map back. Boise State lost that. We had the initial pick on the Sombra, and then we just kind of stopped pushing.
Yeah, that was weird.
We just stopped. And that was absolutely horrible and ended up costing us Ilios.
So you see here for the Nace playoffs, the Great 8, we have gotten down to some of the last 4 teams. Boise State Blue has 3-0'd Bryant. Stratton, they will be taking on Northwood, who also 3-0'd Mizzou. That will be a really incredible match, and I think what a lot of people are considering potentially the championship matches, both programs, Boise State Blue and Northwood, some of the best in the country. Northwood, in some coaches' polls, ranked as high as the 4th best squad. They also won Hugh Fest, if you remember, where Boise State was a top 16 team. So that's going to be a great match. Boise State Orange could join them potentially if they can find a way back here against Ontario Tech. But yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, target focus onto the Mercy and then just cleaning up some of those fights. Because yeah, we got the pick on the Sombra, and I'm like, okay, we've survived the EMP, we're good. And then a Nano went out onto Calcium, and everything just kind of imploded for Boise State.
It's like now that we've swapped onto the Orisa Sigma double shield, we've forgotten how to push. Because to their credit, Orisa is normally a hero that you want to play at a distance, but that doesn't mean you don't push into the enemy Orisa when you're up one. The fact that she is generally a distance hero and generally doesn't thrive in close combat fights, that doesn't mean you stop pushing. And that seems to be a little bit of a struggle for Boise State Orange there.
Yeah, because once Calcium got nanoed, he was trotting in, and I don't really know what you want to call what Orisa does. It's like a trot or a gallop.
Prances.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. Yeah, Calcium just pranced in. He was just like, we're going in, and the rest of Ontario Tech followed, and it was a really good job by them. So we're going to head to the second map. Not a position we've seen, I don't think at all in the playoffs where Boise State's choosing the map. I think both Orange and Blue have 3-0'd every single opponent in the playoffs right now. That's just a testament to how strong these squads have been. And Boise State's going to have to pick here, and it looks like they have chosen their map, but it still seems, once again, this is what we talked about, D'Angelo. When Boise State faces adversity, the Orange team, they panic and they go back to the Rhine, Diva, and Sombra meta that we saw before the playoffs started.
Comfort picks can absolutely kill a team, especially when you're going against high-skill teams like this in playoffs like this. Normally, you can force a comfort pick hero, especially if you're on ladder, competitive ladder. You can force comfort picks. We've seen we have some of our own just have Torb-only accounts and they just climb on ladder, but that's not how this works in the team-oriented finals and semifinals.
Boise State, as we've seen time and time and again on this map, going for a close hold and get an elimination on the Slifer before the Echo can even launch up into the air. Ontario Tech looking a lot like the Boise State Blue team in terms of composition, at least. Double shield with the McCree and the Echo. And then the supports, the ones that you could maybe justify our comfort picks, Mercy and Niana, especially without a real Mercy pocket besides the McCree, as Blitz will be taken out just like that, did not have the pocket from Rick. And that would be my question is, when you see this Mercy, usually it's, it's company with a Widow who's been nerfed or an Ashe. Who is she pocketing on this team?
McCree, absolutely, and their McCree is definitely getting enough value to justify it. However, I do agree with you, Fish, that I think the Mercy is a comfort pick rather than premeditated comp pick. But either way, the McCree still gets value.
Yeah, it's worked out. The Nano goes out on the Calcium before the hat can land from Frost. And Boise State will lose the mech from Quidgeable. We saw the coalescence used from Plev there. Rick going to commit that Valkyrie. Calcium will now be hacked, and Blitz right now just free shooting at Boise State. As he's going to pick down Quidgeable, he's going to take down 2 more with the Deadeye. And Boise State's going to be forced to retreat. They did burn off some decent amount of time here. They should have a chance for a reset before the first point.
I will tell you the entire reason Boise State picked Havana is for that close hold. That is something that Icy absolutely adores. That is something that Beanie Bum absolutely adores. That is something that Boise State Orange team just loves doing, is close holding on Havana.
Yeah, and it went well until Blitz hid behind the gas station and just had no
Shot
one.
everybody.
Yeah, he had no one in his face at all and absolutely flipped the fight. Here's a Deadeye from Narbles. Should be able to get one nice EMP combination onto Calcium, bringing down the shield. Nacho Time hit as well, but not taken down. Narbles going to snipe Slifer out of the air. He's doing his best to challenge Blitz for best McCree in this game. It's a title Blitz currently holds and by a decent margin, but Narbles trying to take it back. We do get a res once again, unpunished onto Slifer, who has the duplicate available. Shatter's going to land just onto Quidgibles. Frost is taken out. Gravitic Flux by Nacho Time committed. A slam down, but a nice sound barrier for BD Bump keeps the team alive. Coalescence used by Pleb. Slifer going to go with the duplicate onto the Diva, which is not something you see every day, especially with a Reinhardt available. Maybe Reinhardt, no, IC just went down. There's another Deadeye from Blitz. He gets one onto Beanie Bum. It can't get punished. The Nano's gone on out of Calcium. Narbles does take down Nacho Time, but he's the last remaining member. And for Boise State, despite probably a bad duplicate, they just could not find a way to get to Blitz.
I don't think they
Could not find a way to get to Blitz, and they did not pick the Echo before she got to use her duplicate. If she had used her duplicate to greater effect, Boise State would have wiped much cleaner, and I guess they lost the fight anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter that the Echo somewhat botched her duplicate. But
Yeah, we saw the two-man shatter come out. A
Hey,
Valkyrie from
there
Rick.
it is.
There's Narbles. He's trying to keep pace with Blitz with the two-man Deadeye of his own. Rick still has the Valkyrie, has not been taken down. Now he finally will, as Narbles and Frost going to combine there for a couple eliminations. But the tanks for Ontario Tech holding strong. Nacho Time and Calcium get a pair of their own before Narbles doing what he can to anchor this Boise State line just 4 meters away from a cap. And now Boise State has put Ontario Tech in last fight territory.
last fight territory, and Boise State has a nice little corner that they can hold on to and a nice little EMP that they can put onto the side of Ontario Tech. And Ontario Tech, with the exception of being close to a Deadeye, doesn't really have anything to answer for Boise State. So
Yeah, usually that would be a meme, but the way Blitz has been playing, that Deadeye could do more than enough to answer Boise State. You see Coalescence online. Frost is going to have the EMP, and the Deadeye available for Blitz. We'll see who blinks first. There's the Coalescence. 5-man EMP is going to land, and a Deadeye from Blitz. He's the only person not hit, but he can't find any value, and he will be taken out. Slifer does take down Frost. Gravitic Flux committed there by Nacho Time, and he'll slam Beanie Bump down to the turf. Boise State, though, still holding strong. Narvel's going to use a Deadeye of his own. Would have liked to combo that with the EMP, but unfortunately, he just has it. Rick, once again, nice res onto Slifer, going unpunished right behind that sign. Slifer will lose his life once again. Diva Bomb from Quidgible comes out. It looks like it does enough to force Ontario Tech off the point, and Boise State on Havana. Thanks to that close hold, looks like they have held the Ridgeback short of a single cap, as overtime will fade.
yes, and that is to some degree what I expect from Orange Team at this point on Havana, which is one of their favorite maps, and they know exactly what to do. And regardless of the meta shift, they know what they had to do beforehand, and clearly Ontario Tech wasn't prepared for that. Otherwise, they would have capped first point. So overall, a really nice hold by Boise State Orange, but I didn't expect anything less from them because this is their favorite map and the map that they are actually best at.
Yeah, so, maybe Boise State on control, they're like, we'll lose on purpose, because we don't see many other teams pick Havana, so you probably wouldn't have seen this come out for Ontario Tech. As we saw there, the Ridgebacks actually just opened up their own gaming arena in their student union, so always nice to see more and more schools adding in their own arenas. Of course, we love our Game Pants Arena and can't wait for it to be open once again to everybody to take inside Boise State's march to potentially the semifinals here. A great job on responding to a loss on control with an early hold on Havana, but now the Broncos got to do it themselves, and it looks like Ontario Tech is the left side of the team's like, hey, let's go back to the old meta. The right side of the team's like, hey, guys, don't forget about the new meta.
Nacho Time has been getting a lot of value onto the Sigma, and with the exception of the Hog, he hasn't really swapped off, and we've seen Brick on Mercy this entire time. However, it is really, really interesting that Sombra, being an off-meta hero, they got off of the McCree, who is meta, and onto the Sombra, because Boise State was using it with such success.
And Narbles even got off the McCree as well, so it's the EMP Blossom available for both sides here, but Beanie Bum gets the first elimination onto himself. Narbles answers one back onto Calcium and does take down the Immortality Field. That's going to allow Frost to pick up Blitz there, and Boise State's DPS proving to be the carries as they're able to get the early elimination. Slifer gets one back, though, onto the Diva Mech and onto Narbles. Quidgible, though, in the Baby Diva form with the Golden Pistol, should be able to remech here, especially with those headshots. Yes, he will, so no punish comes out from the Ridgebacks there onto that Baby Diva. Pleb very close to that Coalescence. Ant Matrix up for Golden Weave soon. Nice hack onto Nacho time. And there's that Coalescence going to be committed. Ant Matrix up for Golden Weave. Immortality Field. The first thing he's going to use, though, Boise State will burn it down, but it's going to cost IZ his life. There's a Valkyrie and an Ant Matrix. Boise State might be smart here just to disengage. Frost will do just that. And the Broncos going to retreat. Wait for that window to go down.
Wait for that window to go down and their own EMP to come up. That is the win condition for Boise State. Whoever's going to EMP first is who's going to win this next fight and get pretty close to capping first point.
Big difference here. It's EMP Shatter versus EMP Gravitic Flux. There's the 6-man EMP into a Shatter. Boise State immediately takes down 2. Can they respond? Slifer's got his own EMP. Immortality Field comes out. His EMP lands onto just 3, but he's only got 1 teammate left, and it's Golden Weave. Blitz has respawned. Boise State's trying to push this payload as fast as possible. We'll see if Ontario Tech can get back in time.
Ontario Tech gets a pseudo recontest. They get 4 members on the point at one time, and then the rest of them are going to be staggered in. So it'll be the job of Boise State to try to contain that first group coming in.
Hack onto Calcium, he goes down. Gravitic Flux, Death Blossom combo there. Narbles uses his own, and the teams trade 1 for 1. Diva Bomb used by Quidgible, can't find anything. Team still trading back and forth. Pleb uses the Coalescence. They this time shut down Rick's Res, and that's the difference. Boise State evens it up at 1 aside with a win on Havana.
It is so satisfying to just watch a Mercy die mid-res. I mean,
there's some hatred in that.
Oh my gosh, there's just something so special about eliminating a Mercy who is trying to get a res. So thank you there, Quidgible.
Teams tied at 1 aside. We will go now to a best of 3 here coming up. It's always a great time to remind everyone that Boise State Esports is always looking for talented players, production, and broadcasters. Top talent, along with good grades and eligibility, can earn you scholarships as well. Sign up today by visiting boisestate.edu/esports for more information. So, series tied at 1 aside. We go to our best of 3. It's going to be hybrid, it's going to be assault, and then potentially controlled, not played if we get to a game 5. And I'll be really curious to see what Ontario Tech's going to pick here because, I mean, as you mentioned, Boise State, this is a reason why we have losers pick. They picked Havana and absolutely just rolled Ontario Tech.
Yes, I did not expect anything less from Boise State on their favorite map that they are the best at with their close hold strategy. Yes, they did an absolutely amazing job on Havana, just like we knew that they would.
As we mentioned earlier in the night, Boise State Blue has already punched their ticket to the semifinal. They will play Northwood after this match concludes. If Boise State Orange is victorious, they will play the winner of Midland and Michigan Tech after that and maybe set up a all-Bronco final. But we still got a long way to go. And Ontario Tech, much like most teams who lose to Boise State on escort, are going to take us to Kings Row.
Kings Row, Scrims Row. I mean, it may be boring for you to cast, but the player in me just rejoices every time it's picked, partially because you just get so upset about it, and I absolutely love to see that.
You know, I don't mind casting Kings Row. I want some variety. I want some escort. We've seen a really nice. We've seen Dorado come out. We've seen Havana. We've seen Route 66 from time to time. I want to see Blizzard World. I want to see Hollywood. I want to see the fun maps come out. I will say the one great thing about Kings Row is our camera work is excellent because our camera operators in the control room have played this map so many times. They've seen this map so many times. We get some excellent sightline views during the load-in time.
Yes.
So I'm really excited for this. And what do you think we're going to see here, D'Angelo? We saw this. Both teams have decided, all right, let's just bring back the Sombra. Let's bring back the Reaper. Do you think maybe Ontario Tech challenges Boise State, or do you think we see both teams say, let's go old meta and just see who plays it better?
I absolutely think that Boise State Orange is, for better or worse, going to stay on old meta and what they know best. Boise State Blue has done an amazing job at adapting to the new meta. Boise State Orange, not so much. They're staying with what they know how to play, which is, I mean, fair, but especially when you're getting into these really high-skill games, the meta is meta for a reason. And so forcing heroes becomes much less viable the higher they go in this competition. And at this point, it's kind of, they don't really have enough time to completely learn the new meta. So we'll just kind of see how far they get with the old one.
Now, I will say, though, for Ontario Tech, they are not like they've gone Boise State Blues route and full end on the new meta either. I mean, especially Rick. He has just been, well, I guess you know what, he's just going to say, you know what, Fish, you know, you're wrong. Because I was going to say, he's been Mercy the whole time, and now he's on Lucio. So, you know, there goes my whole point I had ready to go to kill 13 seconds. So I guess I'll just stop talking.
Both of them are very mobile heroes, so it does make a lot of sense for what I believe is a Mercy main to also play on Lucio as well. It makes a lot of sense, Fish, and so there you go. Your point is still valid.
No reses for Boise State to contest to it this time. I'll be really interested to see. Looks like the Broncos, they brought out the May McCree, something we've seen Boise State a couple of times on Kings Row, bring out the May and also get squashed by the May here in this tournament by a couple of teams. And it is back to the McCree for Blitz. As Icy's the first one who is taken down. Pleb gets hacked out by Cypher. Calcium dropping low, but the Broncos on a main tank have got to be careful. Looks like that Ryan will be able to be healed back up. Nacho Time pushing around the corner as well. And Boise State, without that Reinhardt, looks like there's really not much you can do. You can see everyone with a blue name just retreat. Quidable forced out of the mech, but there's no contest here on this payload.
There's no contest. I believe the idea was for Boise State to back up and then give them a couple ticks and then last minute recontest here, but they did not get there fast enough, and so now they're just in a really bad position to take a fight.
They did get 2. The teams have traded 2 for 2 as Narwhal takes down Nacho Time before he gets taken out himself. So the teams will retreat, and both teams probably just going to reset here while the payload does come out. Maywall from Frost just going to allow everything to reset. Now Ridgebacks, though, just going to push right around it, and Boise State retreating a very, very long way.
You got to get the full regroup here unless you want to get completely rolled. I mean, Ontario Tech is sitting on a massive ult advantage compared to Boise State, and there's no way that Boise State can take this unless they're at full strength.
Okay, you see 4 ults available. The sound barrier coming online soon. It's just a Deadeye for Narbles as Blitz going to use his Deadeye. This one just to zone it out. That is it for Boise State. There's nothing I can say. 5-man EMP, 6-man shatter, team kill Ontario Tech. GG Boise State right there.
3 ults is 3 ults. It's, yeah, especially if you don't have your beat online, there is not a ton that you can do, especially against coordinated teams who are going to follow up on that EMP. So I wouldn't feel too bad about losing that fight to 3 ults, but it did cost you the point, and now you have to hold this final corner for 5 minutes.
See, grab going to come in from Nacho Time. Actually backfires as a Blizzardy Deadeye picks up 2 for Boise State. They still have a couple of ults left in the table, and they're going to stun the Ridgebacks packing, which is 2 meters to go as they take down Slifer as well. So as you mentioned, they did get 3 ults out, so it did work very well for Boise State, and they forced them back. Unfortunately, Boise State starting to chase down Ontario Tech. They've got to be careful. Squidgable barely surviving in that mech.
Quidgable almost got caught out there, but he didn't, and that's the important part. And now Boise State is going to set up for some sort of tricky shatter or bomb.
Blitz had the Deadeye in that fight that Ontario Tech won moments ago, and he already has it back. Last time was used as a zone to kind of bait Boise State into that EMP shatter. We'll see how he uses it this time. He's just going to point blank drop it. Sound barrier committed by Rick as well as a Coalescence. Blitz holding on. There's a shatter onto 1 for Boise State, and they'll lose Icy in the process. Bomb comes out from Quidgable, but just to reset his health, unfortunately, so the Broncos can't find value there. Their only ult is currently dead. Ontario Tech has nothing, but the Ridgebacks right now dropping all the Bronco health bars low. They get a pick onto Blitz, but Boise State's now going to start losing members. Beanie Bum goes down. Frost will follow. Quidgable's mech, the next death for Boise State. The Baby Devo goes down as well, and losing Icy in that shatter are paramount as Ontario Tech's going to 2-cap now and head to the last point with 4.5 minutes.
Losing Icy in that shatter definitely secured that point for Ontario Tech. However, this final corner is a really strong place to hold, but things are not looking too good for Boise State because they've got grab, they've got EMP, and we have nothing really to answer that as Blizzard is 30 away, so we can't out aggro ultimate them because our ultimates aren't online.
But Jabal gets the pick onto Slifer. There's a shatter that whiffs, unfortunately. I was going to say you could eat the grab if you're Quidgable, but he doesn't have a mech anymore or a life.
What?
Narbles tried the Deadeye, but gets stunned out. Great job there to prevent the Deadeye coming out against them by Ontario Tech. As Nacho Time takes down Narbles, he'll pick up another one onto Beanie Bum. And losing that flank Deadeye probably might seal the map here for Boise State, and they might have to at least try and force overtime here on Kings Row, as they're just meters away. The Broncos have respawned. The respawn advantage on the defenders' side, but there's an EMP and a grab. Let's throw in a Deadeye for good measure. Blizzard from Frost, not going to find anything but hit markers, and Ontario Tech just slowly pushing their way down front, freezing it all as they're just padding their stats, and they will 3-0 the Broncos here with 3.5 minutes in the time bank.
You know, that's 2 minutes less than they first rounded that corner, so I mean, gotta look at the positives here for Boise State. We really gotta look at the positives. That is a max range flashbang if I have ever seen one in my life. That was like from the cart, up the ledge, stopping the Deadeye. He was behind the shield. Their Reinhardt was not ready to turn. He was gonna kill at least 2 guaranteed there. And then max range flashbang.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Rick maybe being a Mercy main. You have to think the Blitz is... I mean, yes, McCree just got buffed, but the way he plays his hero, to me, says he has a lot of time on that. As you see, Ontario Tech, located in Oshawa, Ontario, Canada, esports program just opened an arena in the Student Union, and they are definitely improving. Why that arena was opened is they are getting closer to a chance in the semifinals here. As right now, Boise State they can do on Kings Row is look for overtime here. And we'll see what the Broncos want to do. Is Blitz not on that McCree, so things have potentially opened up for them for now as he's on that Reaper.
For now, he's just one hero swap away from being back on the McCree that he is so obviously very comfortable on, and Boise State has been struggling against.
Looks like the Broncos had the Reaper for a moment, but Narble's going to go on to the McCree. Have to wonder if when he sees a team comp for Ontario Tech, he'll just swap back and bring out his own Reaper as the EMP Blossom we've seen Boise State pull off immaculately time and time again. The only difference right now, that McCree and the Diva for Quidgeable going up against Nacho Time on that Zarios, which it should mean Frost has a little bit easier time than Slifer stealthing around. Of course, Diva has a much easier time spamming out the Sombra with the infinite guns there. We see Narbles dropping low as Boise State goes for this flank they try all the time. Narbles first pick onto Golden Weave. Slifer dropping low. Looks like he was able to relocate and stay alive. Blitz takes down Narbles, but Pleb picks one up on the Calcium. The Broncos trying to find that Sombra as Blitz now forced to Wraith form away, and much like we saw from Boise State, the Ridgeback's going to retreat, and Boise State's going to have an easy time at least with a couple of ticks here. See if Ontario Tech wants to recontest like Boise State tried.
Ontario Tech gets a full recontest here if they are very, very quick about it. They are at a disadvantage, though, because they basically just have to bum rush the point.
Yeah, Slifer has just respawned, and they're going to go for it. They'll trade 1 for 1. Coalescence has been used by Pleb, only ultimate alive, and he's going to be able to take down Golden Weave. Not time close to the grab, and as soon as he gets it, he's immediately going to throw it down. He picks up 1. Narbles picks up 1 on a Notch Time himself. The team's still trading back and forth, and Boise State just finally unlocks the payload. As they say, they were just right away. So 5 minutes on the clock, and Boise State, much like Ontario Tech, dominating on the offensive side here to kick things off.
Pleb got the Moira ult faster, and that is in no small part the reason they just capped that first point. So good job, Pleb, there. That was an absolutely amazing job. Now, Frost, it's up to you to get a huge EMP to possibly combo with Bomb or Deadeye. You have options, but all of your options come down to a huge EMP.
Blitz has given up on the Reaper. He's back to that McCree. Double EMP up. Coalescence up for Ontario Tech. Sound barrier coming online soon. Frost might be able to land it. There it is. 5-man EMP. Going to throw down the 4-man Shatter as well. But Rick gets the sound barrier. It does not matter. There's a 3-man Deadeye for Boise State. They're going to send the supports running for the hills. And the Broncos, as you mentioned, D'Angelo, let's just combo 3 ultimates together and make it work.
Absolutely, and I mean, it wouldn't have necessarily been worth it to use all 3 of the ultimates, except they got Sound Barrier out of Rick for it. So, I mean, at that point, it is kind of worth it. But they definitely need to prepare for this next coming EMP because it's going to be huge, and they need to not all die in team wipe.
There's no follow-up ult for Ontario Tech. There's a 3-man EMP, there's a 2-man Shatter as well, but the difference here is there's no Deadeye available. Broncos still going to double commit support ults here. Sound Barrier and Coalescence used. They will be able to take down 3 members of Ontario Tech. Blitz does get one onto Narbles as Golden Weave gets chased down. Slifer the last one left. You have to wonder if Boise State needed those support ultimates there, but they'll still get the point unlocked regardless.
The Sound Barrier makes a lot of sense because it is usually a reactionary thing. You hear the EMP, you Sound Barrier. I mean, this is kind of how you play Lucio. But sometimes, as we've talked about before, Fish, you need to be a bit more active in choosing when you Sound Barrier and when you don't.
Yeah, there was no follow-up ult for Ontario Tech, which we talked about a lot of the time when Frost hits a 5-man EMP. It's like, well, there's no backup, and it just looks cool. So they're going to swap over. Blitz has given up on his McCree. He's gone over to the Ash, which is very similar style to McCree. Won't have the Deadeye, but he'll have the Bomb, as we're going to see Grab come out here from Nacho Time. Unfortunately, Quidgeable hasn't been able to eat any of them, but Boise State's going to counteract it right there. 4-man Shatter, 2-man Coalescence kill. The Broncos going to wipe the floor. It's a team kill for them, and unfortunately the payload just isn't going to move fast enough to force us into overtime quite yet.
Boise State is limited yet again by the speed of the payload.
No body blocks from the Broncos, surprising there, but Frost is hiding. He has the EMP, he'll reveal himself, 4-man EMP will come out. Diva Bomb not able to pick up anything, but Icy gonna be able to pick up 2. Narble's starting to wrap things up here. It's just Blitz alive. He's not gonna matter. It's a team kill, though. I was waiting for the team kill. They got the team kill. They go into overtime, and the Boise State's gonna have just a little bit more time on the clock, it looks like.
A little bit more time is still more time for Boise State there. Boise State did an amazing job there on Kings Row. We misused some ultimates and we had some unfortunate times, but ultimately we did get a faster push than they did. So good job, Boise State. Except this map is still really, really close because the time difference is 28 seconds. So clearly these are two very evenly skilled teams.
Yeah, Boise State, like you said, they'll have a time advantage, but not by much. Ontario Tech is attacking first. And for the most part, kind of just ran through Boise State. I mean, the Broncos put up a resistance here and there, but neither side really has shown much defensive effort here. I mean, it's been attacking favored the whole way for Kings Row.
They ran over Boise State up until third point, and then Boise State put up quite a little bit of resistance there. They were able to get 2 minutes off of the 5-minute clock.
That's true. I mean, Boise State, they probably ran into the most resistance on the payload. And then after that, they just zoomed right on through. Huge reason why they have more time. For now, though, Ontario Tech, they're going to stick with what works. They're going to combo with the EM. Nope, never mind. They're going to go over to the Reaper, which is an interesting choice there from Slifer. Boise State doesn't want to blink at all. So be curious to see how the EMP gets value against the Reaper and the McCree to kick things off. Ontario Tech wants to go right on to the fight. Slifer gets hacked and immediately goes down. Regrets that decision immediately. Quidgeable very, very low in the mech, but should be able to be sustained. Icy dropping low as well. Calcium right there, as everyone's tank health bars are incredibly scary, except for Nacho Time, who's finally starting to take some damage. Slifer not opting to change here. He'll shadow step up to try and catch back up to the team there. We see Pleb already has the Coalescence. Golden Weave has it as well. They're both going to slam down Q at the same time. Blitz has the Deadeye, but a huge hack by Frost is going to shut that down for now. They can't quite finish him off, though. He's going to retreat around that corridor. He's going to pop it there. Boise State throws the shield up, and a nice hack there to finish it, to stop him from recasting it. So Boise State definitely focusing down Blitz as Knock Time has been taken out. Icy used the Shatter, could not find any value there. Narble's close to his own Deadeye, but Boise State burning off a minute already off the clock, and a Diva Bomb available. The Broncos forcing a soft reset here from Ontario Tech. No, looks like the Ridgebacks are like, hey, let's just keep going right back into the fight. A long extended engage. We've seen a couple of picks. EMP for Frost is there. Grab gets eaten by Quidgeable, but unfortunately Rick is able to get the sound barrier off. Narble's going to pump the Deadeye. Can't find anything but calcium in the head. Now here comes Blitz with his own Deadeye. The Broncos trying to find him. Nice stun bang there, and Boise State's able to shut it down. They only lose the mech from Quidgeable. Pleb's taken out as well. But Boise State right now is burning a ton of time off. It's only one tick for the Ridgebacks onto the first point here with 22 seconds left. Nacho Time and Rick dropping low. They can't quite find the kills. Now they lose Icy in the process. Coalescence from Pleb panicked out there to try and sustain the Bronco health bars. 10 seconds left here, of course, in overtime. They're not going to get a time extension, will Ontario Tech, if they unlock the payload. So they can only lose one more fight. Slifer, by the way, has swaps over to the Genji. Picks up one. Nacho Time's got another one onto Frost. And right as the time bank ends, looks like Ontario Tech's going to stay alive and unlock the payload.
Unlock the payload. Icy got a little bit greedy there just before Pleb got back. If there was just like a 2-second difference between Pleb arriving with Coalescence and Icy pushing into them, and that little disconnect is what enabled Ontario Tech to unlock the payload here. However, Boise State just needs to win one fight. So, I mean, it's perfectly viable to charge up that EMP, also use Shatter, also use Deadeye, throw in a Coalescence for good measure. But Ontario Tech will be looking to do the same thing because they're in one-fight territory, so it's definitely possible to get Ontario Tech to overcommit ultimates.
Slifer picked off there. 3-man shatter lands onto Boise State. Plus a grab means Nitro Time picks up 2, and Boise State unfortunately not going to win this one. Frost is going to pick onto Calcium, but it's got to be a retreat from the Broncos. They're going to drop their own shatter lands onto 2. Coalescence committed by Pleb there as well. The Broncos have the EMP if they want to use it, they will. And it cancels out the sound barrier from Rick as the Coalescence picks up a pair. Rick goes down in the process. Slifer trying to get back into the fight. He tries to deflect the best he can. Diva Bomb right on top of the point forces Blitz to go down, and Boise State will hold 64 meters into that first point, so the Broncos have their work cut out for them as they go on to overtime. Winner here puts themselves on match point in the quarterfinals.
4 ultimates is 4 ultimates. It started with a really nice shatter and ultimately followed up by a really nice coalescence and then a really nice EMP. And especially if your sound barrier gets canceled, there's not a ton you can do there on the side of Ontario Tech. However, they did try real hard with that amazing grab.
Yeah, I will say, Rick, I mean, we talked about him on the Mercy. He did a really good job, if we talked about when Sombra was in the meta, of being the Lucio who avoids the EMP, and then as we talked about, reactionarily just slams down the sound barrier. That was really the first time he got caught, and after that, he has swapped over. He's back on the Mercy. He's got 2 pocket targets. He's got Blitz on the McCree, Slifer on the Ash. Slifer really hasn't figured out what he wants to do. He's been all over the place. Blitz has been more stable, especially on that McCree. I'll be curious to see what Ontario Tech has here for Boise State in overtime, knowing that if they get a hold, they're on match point in the quarterfinals.
Match point in the quarterfinals is a very scary place to be, and this is a very, very close game, Boise State versus Ontario Tech here. Expect to see a lot more out of Blitz now that he has a Mercy pocket.
Do you pocket the McCree over the Ash, though?
You pocket the superior... Sorry. Blitz is doing a good enough job that you probably want to give him some assistance.
You pocket the superior player. I mean, we can say it. No worries. If Slifer gets mad, we'll just point out all the value Blitz has gotten, and I'm sure Slifer understands it as well. So looks like they're going to go for a high ground hold, hack onto Nacho Time. Immortality Field from Golden Weave will come out, and Icy's the first target, but he'll trade it off for Nacho Time. So both teams lose a tank. Quidgeable loses a mech, but Narble gets a pick onto Blitz. Good news for Ontario Tech. They just immediately swip over the pocket right onto Slifer, who gets taken out. And now Rick's all alone. Can the Boise State Broncos punish the res that he's gotten off so many times as Golden Weave just barely survived? Rick's able to gun down Narbles. They'll trade off 1 for 1. Battle Mercy comes out, but Boise State right now a much quicker cap of the payload as we see Frost and Icy chasing down Calcium. And the Broncos going to have plenty of time here to try and get themselves to match point.
Things are looking good for the Broncos winning Kings Row here. I mean, we have, not only do we have the EMP, but we also almost have the Deadeye as well. And we've seen that that's a huge combo for Ontario Tech. And these are similarly skilled teams, so there's no reason Boise State can't pull off something like that.
Yeah, we see here what Boise State wants to do. There we go. I was going to say, I can't see half the ultimate, so I do appreciate the view of myself, but I appreciate seeing how close Frost is to that EMP because he is right there on it, and Boise State might be able to win this right here. We see a Coalescence from Pleb going to kick things off. Golden Weave has dropped the Ant Matrix, and the Broncos have smartly waited it out. There's a 3-man EMP, a 2-man Deadeye in the process. They have lost Quidgeable, but the Broncos are trying to run down the rest of Ontario Tech. Golden Weave will fall. Slifer tries to get away, but a nice flashbang from Narbles is going to take him down. Blitz has popped the Deadeye. Boise State's going to use the payload to line of sight. Valkyrie from Rick, and Boise State on match point in the quarterfinals with a win in overtime on Kings Row.
There it is, the Boise State Orange coming out, doing an amazing job there. How you doing with all these Deadeye kills, Fish? They've really been fight determiners, don't you think? I would go as far to say as that last EMP Deadeye there definitely won Boise State the map.
You know, I will say, I am okay eating with Deadeye when it requires 3 other ultimates to get 4 kills. When we see, all right, we got an EMP shatter Deadeye, I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm okay with my sense of superiority. The Deadeye is still useless. But Blitz has made me redetermined. And as you mentioned, it was a great job there by Boise State on the last point to be able to use that Deadeye. But he did have the EMP. Makes it a little bit easier. I'm just saying, but I'm not saying. But, I mean, we talked about it, though. I mean, you mentioned match point in the quarterfinals is probably not a place you want to be. It looked like for a little bit it was trending in Ontario Tech's direction, but now it's Boise State. They've got 2 maps to win 1. We're going to Assault next, and You've talked about how snowbally Assault could be, D'Angelo. Both these teams attacking feel like we're going to see a huge snowball.
I absolutely believe we're going to see a huge snowball, and I believe part of that snowball is going to come down to ultimate usage and who is able to use their ultimates better. Because for the most part, Boise State is running a lot of Boise State and Ontario Tech are running a lot of mirror stuff. And so when you're running mirror, it comes down to two things. Individual mechanical skill, who plays the hero better, and who presses Q better. And things are not necessarily looking very good for Boise State if it comes down to who gets more Deadeye value. Because I do believe that Narbles is the more mechanically skilled player, but when you can get a quad kill Deadeye, that doesn't necessarily... It doesn't necessarily matter if you're just a little bit below the enemy McCree in terms of mechanical skill.
Yeah, I think probably the greatest way to say it is Narbles mechanically, you could argue is the better player, but you'd have to say that Blitz is probably the more familiar with McCree.
Yes.
And I mean, Narbles, a lot of the times we haven't seen him pull out McCree until the recent meta shift, and we talked about it with Rick, and I think Blitz would be in the same place. These are probably guys who have played these heroes a lot, and so when they come into the meta, they just absolutely dominate, and I really feel like that's where Blitz is, because mechanically on McCree, he feels like he is the superior player. When he's been off the McCree, it's been kind of for Ontario Tech.
It's been kind of indeed. And Narbles came to us as a flex player. We must remember that. Narbles plays a great number of heroes to a great amount of success. Pleb is the same. One of our support players, their brothers, they came to us as flex players, and they continue to just add so much to Boise State, playing whatever we need them to play, whenever we need them to play. Particularly Narbles, because the DPS roster is huge, and he can play the majority of them. So whatever you need, Narbles can pull out.
Yeah, it is one of those interesting things in a game like Overwatch where 90% of the time you take someone like Narbles, who you can say, hey, Widowmaker's in the meta, put him on Widowmaker. Torbjorn's in the meta, put him on Torbjorn. But when you get someone like Blitz, who plays McCree to the very, very highest degree, when McCree comes into the meta, you want a guy like Blitz who is just going to know the ins and outs. I mean, we saw it on attack when defending, he just nailed a flashbang onto Narbles to shut down what could have been a fight-flipping Deadeye. He just knows that hero inside and out, and I think he's got to find value, because you talked about it in the open. McCree hard counter Sombra. When Frost has gotten EMP value, Boise State's usually won. So that's what got to be Blitz's job, is shutting down Sombra, and that's the one thing he's kind of struggled with.
That is the one thing he has kind of struggled with that Narbles has done a much better job at. Shutting down Sombra EMPs. That's another point while we're comparing the two McCrees. Blitz is more comfortable, but Narbles is doing an amazing job at shutting down Sombra EMPs and just absolutely not letting her get the value that she needs to get, or at the very least, if she's going to get the value, she's going to get it from the spawn room.
Yeah, and Boise State did a great job on Kings Row. When Rick was on the Mercy, didn't allow him to get any reses off. That's something that really allowed Ontario Tech to win on Control, and almost allowed them to win on Escort. That's the other thing I've kind of noticed is Slifer, the other DPS for Ontario Tech, he hasn't found what he's comfortable on. I don't know what he came to them as, because, I mean, he's tried the Genji, he's tried the Sombra, he's tried the Reaper, he's tried the Ashe, and it really feels like he is sort of like, I don't know what to play, guys, and it feels like at times it's almost like a 6v5.5, because he's playing something you can tell he's kind of uncomfortable on, but it's something that's meta right now. So maybe he's a Torbjorn expert or something that's just not meta, and he's kind of struggling, and that also is sort of set Ontario back as well.
Yes, that definitely set Ontario back. And I think part of the reason Slifer looks somewhat lackluster is because you're comparing him to Blitz, who is not only on his comfort hero, but also usually with a pocket.
That is true. As we see here, here's how we started the night with the Great 8. On the left side of the bracket, we know where we stand. Boise State has 3-0'd Bryant Stratton to get to the semifinals. Northwood has done the same to Mizzou. So the Broncos and Timberwolves will face off in the semifinals coming up after we wrap up our Orange versus Ontario Tech game. Meanwhile, on the right side, as we talked about, we're going to Assault. The Broncos lead 2-1 here over Ontario Tech. They'll play the winner of Midland and Michigan Tech in the semifinal later tonight. Could be a long night, D'Angelo. If both Bronco teams are able to win, then the finals will be at a later date. They would not be tonight. We would not be playing that much Overwatch. But Boise State already has two teams in the top 8. They're the only school to do so. There were several other schools who entered 2 teams into this. We started with 85 different schools. We're down to 8. The Broncos know they have 2 of the top 8. They have 1 in the top 4. They'd love to add another one. And Slifer is again on that Genji. We'll see how long he stays on it because it looks like it's a Nano Blade combo that the Ridgebacks want to pull off here.
It looks like they're trying to pull off the Nano bot Genji strat, which is what Genji is best at, to be perfectly honest. Farming Blade, getting the Nano, and getting a team kill. It'll be on Beanie to get some amazing sound barriers, which he has struggled with a little bit, especially against DPS ult. If you take away the Ana Nano, that Genji becomes suddenly much less scary, particularly running into a Sombra and a McCree.
Well, actually, they've bailed off the Ana at the last second. Golden Weave's gone over to the Moira, so we'll see how much value Slifer can get without the Nano. Boise State right now defending first, and both D'Angelo and I have agreed that we think this is going to be whoever wins on defense is probably going to have the advantage here. As Blitz and Nacho time take down 2 automatically. Calcium low, but he's able to be sustained. Blitz gets the mech and 1. Nacho time with nearly a double boop off. He'll take down just 1, and as we've talked about, this snowball for Assault could be deadly for Boise State. They found 1 kill in that opening engage.
We witnessed Sombra in her natural state, hard countered by McCree. And that is what led to this kind of like little snowball-y thing that Boise State has now found themselves in.
Yeah, you can see Boise State's highest ultimate, besides Narbles, is sitting at 43%. The lowest ult for Ontario Tech is at 35, but Golden Weave and that Coalescence are going to charge incredibly quickly. So this could be a full Q slam down for the Ridgebacks and immediately capping the point. They've got 5 minutes and 45 seconds on the clock. They can easily stall out here as long as they want. Deadeye's available. They'll jump right onto Blitz and they get a pick. Narbles has his own Deadeye. They get one onto Rick as well. They're going to shut down that res immediately. And the Broncos showing signs of life here on second point defense. Slifer will fall, and the Broncos have shut down Ontario Tech push for now. But that time bank still got a ton of time left as they wrap up the last part here.
Boise State has fended off the first attempt at a snowball, but now is the really scary attempt at a snowball because we're 50% to beat, and they've got Blade, they've got Deadeye, they've got Primal almost, they've got Mines, they've got Mercy, and they'll probably have Moira ult as well. Things are not looking very good for Boise State here. Boise State needs to be prepared to try to survive through 4 or 5 ultimates.
The Broncos should have 4. Their Primal Rage is just barely ahead of Calcium. Nacho Time's going to hop in on the point. Hack going to go into Blitz. Can't Deadeye when you're hacked. He immediately goes down. Coalescence from Plev has been used. Valkyrie committed by Rick. We'll see if he can find a res, and he can't. Onto Blitz. He's immediately going to Deadeye. Boise State finds one onto Beanie Bum. The EMP's coming online soon for Frost. Narbles wants a flank. He's looking at all his angles. There's the Deadeye. Immediately hopped on by Calcium, who throws down the shield. But meanwhile, a double Diva Bomb from Quidjabo keeps Boise State in the fight. Slifer has the Dragon Blade when he wants to commit it. The Broncos trying to hold on as much as they can. Frost used the EMP, so Boise State has no ultimates. They're still staring down Dragon Blade Nano, or not Nano, excuse me, the Coalescence. The Slifer has committed the Dragon Blade. Doesn't find anything, but Blitz does find 1 and a mech. Hack does go on to Nacho Time, who falls. Boise State holding strong here. Coalescence from Golden Weave comes out as the Broncos now currently sitting up 2. Res on to Slifer once again. We've talked about it. Rick gets insane value, and when he does, Ontario Tech has won the map, especially on control. Another Deadeye for Blitz comes out. There's a sound barrier from Beanie Bum, only going to land onto himself and Icy, unfortunately. He's going to have to go around the corner. Quidjabo has remeched in the spawn. Boise State doing a great job here, just burning time off at least, as they have now allowed 2 ticks. They're just kind of faltering in one by one, but it's burning chunks of time off the clock as Beanie Bum's the next one taken out there. Valkyrie by Rick has been used. There's no res target for him as Quidjabo's burned out of the mech immediately. The contest is still on from Frost and the remaining members of Boise State. Barely holding on. Primal Rage takes down Narbles. Frost will just run into his death. The Boise State Broncos at this point just trying to buy as much time as they can for overtime if we get there, because Ontario Tech's done it with 3.5 in the bank.
Ontario Tech used 9 ultimates in that entire engage. And Boise State was able to survive for a good 2-3 minutes there against 9 ultimates. And they didn't even, like, the sound barrier was there, the sound barrier was used, but the sound barrier didn't necessarily, like, weather through any huge ultimates. So Boise State just did a really good job of kind of trying to stay out of the way of those. And of course, when your respawn is like 5 meters away from the point, that definitely helps things as well. But Ontario Tech was not able to get the ultimate value that they needed to get out of that, and it cost them a couple minutes, but they're still sitting really pretty with 3 minutes and 21 seconds.
Yeah, Ontario Tech puts Boise State on edge. Good news for the Broncos, though. They are leading the series 2-1. So they would have a second shot on Control Not Played if they cannot find a win here on Assault. This is up for a shot in the semifinals of the Nace Skills Shot Overwatch Fall Playoffs. Winner will play the winner of Midland and Michigan Tech, who's going on right now. We have the other semifinal, Boise State Blue and Northwood, coming up after this, and a shot in the finals, and Boise State Orange would love to be there and potentially set up a rematch against Boise State Blue. And once again, it's going to come down to, can Ontario Tech to find any sort of slowdown for the Broncos' first attack, because on offense, Ontario Tech ran over Boise State Orange on Assault.
Absolutely. They had much more trouble running over them second point just because of those close spawns and because Boise State was very ready for the amount of ultimates that they were coming across. Like that McCree, died 3 fights before he was able to finally use his Deadeye.
Speaking of that, McCree, Blitz has swapped over to the Soldier for this one to allow Frost to be a little bit more free in what he wants to do. Is we're going to see Nacho Time immediately engage on top of the Broncos, who are going for that flank. We see them do that a lot of the time on Assault when we do get here. Calcium dropping low. He's the first elimination target for Boise State. Golden Weave booped off the edge. And now the Broncos sitting up 2. Beanie Bum very low. Nice res by Rick. He's 3 for 3 so far on Assault and has not been punished a single time. Blitz will go down. We are going to see Nacho Time falling once again, and Boise State starting to have onto that point. Great contest here from Ontario Tech. Quadruple taken out of the mech by Slifer, who will jump away and get hacked before he's able to commit the Dragon Blade. And it looks like for Ontario Tech, they're retreating for maybe one last contest here at the final second.
No, they don't get a final recontest here. They're just setting up on point 2, and I mean, why wouldn't they? That fight was relatively even, and if you look at the ultimate bars, Fish, it's going to be hard for Boise State to snowball, and even if they do, it's not going to be a true snowball because they're not just going to overwhelm them with ults, because Ontario Tech is actually up in ult economy.
Yeah, when Ontario Tech attacked, they came into this second point up 4 ults to 1. Boise State, as you mentioned right now, trailing in that. They will have the Deadeye up soon as it comes up on Q. Minefield will be up for Nacho Time very soon. We'll see who wants to blink first. Coalescence is going to be used by Pleb. Valkyrie from Rick will be committed as well. Gotta watch if he can get a res off. There's a Dragon Blade from Slifer. He's able to take down Frost. Blitz now on that Ash. Gets one onto Beanie Bum and one onto Icy as well. And Boise State's got to run for the hills, and second point's been a little bit harder for both teams. The Broncos can't even crack the Ontario Tech defense.
Boise State's next chance here, we're still sitting on a lot of ultimates. We have the potential to combo Shatter, Deadeye, and EMP, because sometimes that's what it takes to just clean wipe and get second point on Assault, because the spawn doors are just so close. Actually, that was a pretty good trade for Boise State there, because they traded Pleb's ultimate, Coalescence, for not only Dragon Blade, but also Valkyrie.
Boise State's got the EMP coming up soon. They're just looking at the Minefield and the Primal Rage. Nano's up soon, but there's no Dragon Blade, so maybe you just Nano Calcium when he pops the Primal Rage just to do some extra damage. You see Frost, he's hiding out there, making sure he doesn't give away his position at all. So there with the EMP. Wow, I don't know how Blitz did not see him. Trying to get a solo hack onto him. He immediately gets gunned down almost, and Boise State's just going to hop onto the point. They've gotten one tick. There's the hack onto Slifer. Minefield comes down. EMP whiffs, unfortunately, for Boise State. They're going to trade 2 for 2. There's another res on the Blitz. They are going to try and drop the Diva Bomb. There is a sound barrier from Beanie Bum as well. Calcium has used the Primal Rage. Nano's already gone out. And Boise State, unfortunately, with their cheeky little EMP, found nothing. And they're right now going to find, second tick is so close to being unlocked, but a contest is still being held by Ontario Tech. Blitz is dropping incredibly low. Slifer does get quitchable out of the mech and takes down the Baby Diva right away with the Dragon Blade. Golden Weave swapping over to the Lucio, and Boise State, unfortunately, all of that progress for naught. They'll get forced off just a second away from double tick. A double Deadeye from Narbles. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough, unfortunately. As you can see, there are 4 members of Ontario Tech holding down that, and there goes all of that progress for Boise State. They get one onto Calcium. They can try and start to earn it back. Rick has committed the Valkyrie. We'll see if he can get a res onto Calcium and get his team back to full strength. He can! As an EMP from Frost, unfortunately, whiffs and only lands onto Rick, but after the res comes off, the teams will trade 1 for 1. Blitz and Narbles going down. Boise State now trying to push Ontario Tech back. They'll take down Slifer and Calcium. There's no res available for Rick. They're going to try and chase him down. Going to be able to get him this time. And Boise State right now, they are down in time. Should they force overtime, they're decently on their way, 79% towards forcing us to an overtime here on an assault. Nice pick onto Golden Weave in the Baby Diva form. Bomb doesn't find anything, but it's enough to zone him off. And this time it's Ontario Tech with a 37-second advantage going into overtime.
Boise State would have won that at least 37 seconds sooner if two things hadn't happened. Quidgible went off on his own, but most importantly, Narbles died. We saw him get huge Deadeye value, but he needed to get that in the beginning of the fight when they were using the EMP, when they were first using the Shatter, when they were first going into attack. Narbles died, and so they didn't have that Deadeye value, and they didn't have the huge amount of DPS that he provides, and then Quidgible went off by himself and got murdered by Dragonblade. And so, that is why Boise State is sitting at a time disadvantage.
I also have to say the first EMP from neither EMP from Frost was huge. I think the first one completely whiffed, and the second one only landed onto Rick. He was trying to be cheeky, and unfortunately for him, that map just doesn't really force the defending team to be that grouped up. So, unfortunately, that's kind of where it spelled doom for the Sombra. Boise State that wants to run it back, they'll be attacking first. They'll try and send a message to Ontario Tech, especially if they can pull off the 2-cap here, but neither team's had much luck on second point, so I'm going to think this comes down to whoever gets the most ticks on second point here in overtime.
That's true. Neither team is winning fights as cleanly as they need to on second point assault, and I mean, that's just kind of the nature of assault. If you don't snowball or clean wipe them, you're going to be sitting there for at least another like minute 30 seconds because their spawn door is right there.
Boise State kicks things off here. Ontario Tech was a little bit more stout on first point, defending at least, than Boise State was. So the Broncos still had over 5 minutes left. As Golden Weave's on the on, and now he'll land an anti onto Quidgible, who will really not care. By the time he comes around the corner, he will be free of that anti-healing debuff. And now Boise State's trying to find a way in. Looks like they're going to go for the underneath, flanking up the high ground here. Hack and a Blitz going to land. Calcium dropping low. Quidgible going to boost through, try and get onto Blitz, who's sitting on the backside. And first elimination will go out onto Slifer. Now Calcium dropping low. Hack onto Rick, preventing the res. Good job there by Frost to shut that down. And Boise State close to at least one tick here, but Blitz finds one onto Frost. We've talked about that McCree into Sombra, and this time it pays off for Ontario Tech. Narbles wins the battle, though, so he'll get bang and bang. That's 2 for him. Boise State's gotten a tick. They've already gone through officially now half of their remaining time, and they're going to find a second tick as well onto point number 1. Nacho time will go down, and Boise State with 50 seconds left going to get some time in overtime here and maybe give a shot that makes Ontario Tech have to realize that the Broncos are a force to be reckoned with.
We need to weather that Deadeye and not die to the mines, and we need to get like 50% on Sombra ult like now. Like we need to get that like now if we want to clean take this point.
Which is 6-man Deadeye them, right? And everyone tells me Deadeye is super useful now. Just Narbles, just consider 6-man Deadeye. It's that easy, right? We'll have to see. As Coalescence comes out from Pleb, nice hack onto Blitz. Frost's hacks have been huge, but Narbles immediately taken down. There's the minefield you were talking about. It's on the point, so Boise State unfortunately cannot cap it. Blitz doesn't need the Deadeye to take down Icy and Quidgible. And Boise State, who is oh so close to at least getting a tick, is not going to find anything. They're going to lose everyone, and they're going to have to regroup here for final fight in overtime.
Final fight in overtime, but now we have EMP Deadeye, so I mean, Narbles is who we have the pressure on here. If Narbles doesn't get value out of his Deadeye, or if Frost doesn't get value out of his EMP, Boise State is not going to be able to do this. And things are not looking so good for Boise State in terms of ultimate economy. This is going to be rough.
EMP, Deadeye, Diva Bomb, Sound Barrier going into Dragonblade, Nano. There's the Deadeye. They're going to burn down Slifer, though. Sound Barrier committed there by Diva, but no! They weren't on the point! They weren't on the point!
Oh!
They C9 themselves.
I'm so upset. They did everything they needed to do to win that fight, except touch the friggin' point.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
In the quarterfinals, Boise State just C9s themselves on the second point of overtime.
Oh my goodness. And they were gonna win that fight too. Ontario Tech didn't have the Dragon Blade, and they were about ready. And they were about ready to hop onto the McCree and the Mercy that were up on that high ground as well, because nobody knew that Narbles was there.
Yeah, Boise hadn't committed any ultimate yet. They were ready to run through Ontario Tech, so now
they were too ready to run through Ontario Tech that they forgot to have somebody on the point.
Well, now Boise State's, this is going to be not only a test of how well Ontario Tech can attack, but it's going to be a test on the Broncos' mental. Because I'm sure they know right now what they just did. They can still hold on first point, and they would be going to the semifinals. But right now, a lot of pressure is on Boise State. I thought it was going to come down to who gets the most ticks on second point. It's just one tick for Ontario Tech is all the Ridgebacks need to force us to a Game 5 here in the Nace quarterfinals. They're going to stick with the same comp that they've been running most of the time. Boise State will do the same. Last time on attack, Ontario Tech kind of ran through Boise State. We'll see if the Broncos can provide any sort of resistance. They capped first point with a minute left in overtime. Quidjabel immediately forced out of the mech. Nitro time dropping low. He will be sustained. Ante goes out onto the Baby Diva, who barely hangs on. We'll see if Quidjabel can get back to that mech as soon as possible. Blitz has been hacked. He's close to the Deadeye, and he takes down 2 in the process. Narbles gets just 1 in return. And Boise State's got to be careful. Only 27 seconds gone off the clock. Res from Calcium onto Calcium from Rick will go out. And it looks like Boise State's starting to run out of members as Narbles does go down. First tick going to come out, and Boise State's going to have to opt for a long hold here on the second point as Ontario Tech. Small contest here, but Boise State's not going to find the answer. And the Ridgeback's going to be very well set up here to force us to a Game 5. We'll see what the Broncos have in store.
Hindsight 2020, I think an Ana would have been much better over the Moira because an Ana would have been able to prevent the Diva out of mech that ended up kind of like starting that fight and winning that fight for Ontario Tech. Boise State needs to set up to try not to get snowballed really hard, but it's looking grim.
Yeah, they've got 1 ultimate up. It's just the Deadeye. The Coalescence is up soon. Valkyrie's been committed by a Rick. There's a Deadeye from Narbles. He finds one on the Blitz.
There it is.
Who had his own Deadeye, but there's that Res we've talked about. Nano's going to go out as the Nano Blade. Deadeye's been committed as well. There's a double kill with the Dragon Blade. Blitz going to pick up 1 onto Beanie Bump. Pleb can use the Coalescence all he wants, but unfortunately he's running out of teammates to contest the point. You can see how close Ontario Tech is. They've got a minute on the clock. Should Boise State respawn and hold them off? They've got EMP. It's going to land onto 4 members. Unfortunately, Slifer is going to be able to still pick up 2 without the Dragon Blade. Boise State picks up just 1. And now they're starting to run out of members. There's a Deadeye from Blitz, comes out onto Narbles. Just 1 man left contesting the point. It's Icy who had the Primal Rage active. And Ontario Tech, 1 caps him on point 2. And we're heading to game number 5 here between Boise State Orange and Ontario Tech. Winner heads on to the semifinals of the Nace Skill Shot Playoffs.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, Ontario Tech just did a really, really nice snowball there. I mean, they used 5 ultimates throughout the course of that fight, and it's really not fair to expect yourself or any team really to just weather through 5 ultimates. And Boise State did the absolute best they could. They killed the McCree because they knew his Deadeye's got historically a lot of value. But he's got a hard mercy pocket, so you got to kill him twice. And then they got huge nano blade value, and then after that, they just kind of hard focused and continued to use ultimates and take just the 1 tick that they needed.
Yeah, I mean, the way Ontario Tech was set up, they might have even been able to 3-cap it there if that's what Boise State did.
Yeah.
So we'll never know. Boise State, unfortunately, will have to live with that, but they've got another chance. We're going to go to Controlled Unplayed. It's going to be Lijiang Tower. Winner goes to the semifinals. They'll play the winner of Midland and Michigan Tech. Boise State Blue and Northwood are coming up after this. That is one of the semifinals on the A side of the bracket here. As we take a look at some of the replays in Boise State, I mean, the other thing you can point at is, unfortunately for them, their defense just kind of got ran over here, both in regulation and in overtime. Point 1, Ontario Tech really had no resistance from Boise State.
They didn't at all, really. And I think part of that is because the Sombra is hard countered by the McCree. And then the other part of that is they're playing very, very spread around the high ground. I mean, as you should. But they're playing very spread around the high ground with a Moira who can't reach you if you're all the way over there. So I really think that their play style would have benefited a lot from an Ana. And I know that Pleb is comfortable on Ana and just a skilled player in general, so I'm a little bit curious as to why they chose to go with the Moira anyway, and I do believe to some extent it was to their detriment.
So Boise State, now the other thing they've got to worry about is, can the players reset? and they realize that, you know, what's done is done, and they have to go on to Lijiang Tower. Now, we already saw Ontario Tech on Ilios 1 control to nothing. So we see here, we look at how we got here. Ontario Tech winning map 1. Both the payload, escort, and hybrid went the Broncos' way. And once we went back to the control-style maps is when Ontario Tech won once again. So we'll go to control not played. It's Lijiang Tower, I believe. And it's going to be a winner-take-all here on control. Like we said, winner to the semifinals. Boise State Orange would love to join blue and have 2 programs in the top 4 of Nace.
Yes.
They're going to have their work cut out for them because Ontario has figured things out when there's not a payload involved.
That is very true. Ontario does have a lot of success on non-payload maps, or maybe Boise State is just
that good. We don't know. Yeah.
Maybe we don't know. Either way, things are looking at a little like a slight disadvantage to Boise State here, but they still can do it. They still can join blue in the top 4. And I mean, it's always a great day to be a Boise State fan, especially if you have 2 of your teams in the top 8. But it would be even better if you had 2 of your teams in the top 4.
Yeah, 2 teams in the top 4, and it would set up a chance for a Boise State v. Boise State final. I mean, that would just be in
fun?
2 of the top 2. So, yeah, here's how we started the night in the Great 8. We kicked things off with Boise State Blue. They ran over Bryant Stratton, a 3-0 over the Bobcats. Northwood did the same, 3-0ing Mizzou. Those teams will meet in the semifinals coming up next. We've got Boise State Orange and Ontario Tech. Game 5 on control. Lijiang Tower should be the map, and the winner goes to the finals. They'll play the winner of Midland and Michigan Tech. Do believe that was Midland, but we'll have to get some confirmation at some point of who the winner of this game is going to play. And I mean, this is where my one complaint about Overwatch would come. There needs to be a 5th game mode. There should not be an instance where we're going back to control not played. That would be my one thing where it's like, hey, can we get like a 5th game mode so when we have a best of 5, we're seeing something different? That would be my one thing for Overwatch 2 that we should probably at some point have.
You know what I think we should do? I think we should go back to Havana.
Yeah, yes.
I think we should go back to Havana. There it is, guys. There it is. That's Boise State's, like, cinch that favorite map. It would be absolutely amazing there. If we just went back to Havana.
Honestly, if this was controlled, but you had to capture payloads, even if the payload didn't move, I think Boise State would win. I mean, as we see there, they won Escort and they won Hybrid. Kings Row was incredibly close. That game went to overtime.
Yes.
I mean, these 2 teams are so close in terms of we saw overtime on Kings Row. We saw overtime on Assault. Would not shock me if we go 3 maps here on control.
Oh.
It's going to be really close, but on Ilios, it was all Ontario Tech. We're on Lijiang now, and I'm going to be really curious to see how things go here. Blitz going to be on the Reaper. I have to say that favors Boise State.
Not on the McCree. There it is. There's the Boise State advantage. Never take a fair fight. It's not a fair fight if Blitz isn't on McCree.
And Golden Weeb's on Mercy. Rick's on Lucio.
Wild.
So comfort picks for Ontario Tech. Not going to be how we kick things off here. It's Game 5, Nace quarterfinals, winners to the semis. They'll play later tonight against the winner of Midland and Michigan Tech. Calcium dropping low. Boise State can't quite find the finish, though. He'll be able to be re-healed up there. But Blitz taken out there on that Reaper. Slam down from Nacho Time. Not going to be enough. Hack onto Rick, and Boise State's picked up 3. They're going to send the Ridgebacks running for the hills, and Boise State is the control point unlocked. Should kick things off here very strong on Lijiang.
Oh, yeah, that's looking really good for Boise State there. They Blitz overcommitted, and Boise State punished him for it. I love it when people get punished for overcommitting or mercy resing in the middle of the team. It just makes me very happy.
Now looks like a back flank here from Ontario Tech. Boise State holding on to the point. There's the engage here from Nacho Time. Going to get hacked out. And now here comes the rest of Ontario Tech. Golden Weave will go down to the coalescence that's been used. Beanie Bum and Narble is going to combine once again. It feels like Boise State has reset, and they pick up another 4K, and they're looking pretty strong here.
Things are looking pretty clean for Boise State as long as they don't get 6-man pulse bombed. There's not a lot that Ontario Tech can do by way of ultimates this next fight.
Pulse Bomb the only thing up. Rick has swapped over to the Ana, so no Lucio available for Ontario Tech for the incoming EMP Bomb or EMP Death Blossom. Blossom and EMP both sitting at 80%. Sound very pretty. Beanie Bum also around that 80% mark. So the Broncos could withstand anything Ontario Tech wants to throw at him. Right now just farming alts. Once again, Nacho Time going to dive in there. Golden Weave's going to commit the Valkyrie. BD Bum has the Sound Barrier, holding on to it for now. EMP available for Frost. There's a Pulse Bomb from Slifer, and it picks up just Pleb. There's a Sound Barrier from BD Bum. Will land onto 4. Diva Bomb comes out and gets Slifer, so it's a 1-for-1. Hack onto Nacho Time. Death Blossom comes out from Blitz. Able to take down Icy. Narble picks one of his own. He'll immediately throw down his own Death Blossom, but Golden Weave, just like Rick, gets great res value right onto Slifer. Narble's going to try and take down that Tracer. The Primal Rage from Calcium will come out. Right now the Broncos, though, more than content to see that point grow to 80% and climbing. Slifer and Calcium both low. And a nice melee there from Narbles to shut down Winston. Nacho Time trying to do what he can, and Boise State right now feels like they're an advantage. Still sitting on that EMP. They don't have a lot of follow-up, though, as Narbles goes down. Webb going to take down Blitz. Quidgeable takes down Nacho Time. It's been just an absolute back-and-forth affair. Neither team really willing to reset here, and now Ontario Tech can't afford to as they're into overtime. Beanie Bum picks up Slifer. They're still sitting on this EMP from Frost. He's got to throw it out at some point, you would have to believe. Rick has the Nano. He is going to get hacked down, though, so he can't commit it at all. There's a 4-man EMP going to come out from Frost, shutting down that Nano even longer. Nano does finally get out, saving Nacho Time there. We will have enough to shut down to lay down the minefield and go zooming around in circles. Blitz taken out. Golden Weave, the next target, actually just fell off the edge. Frost takes down Calcium, but Beanie Bum and the Quidgeable Mech have gone down as well. Rick will fall. There's a Pulse Bomb once again from Slifer, who takes down the Baby Diva. The Broncos right now are just baiting Ontario Tech into running into their death. And it looks like Boise State is 1 map away from the semifinals.
1 map away from the semifinals is a really good place to be. However, Ontario Tech, if they had reset for another clean fight at any point, at any point in that 99%, things would have been looking a lot better. But I guess that's neither here nor there, because I'm a Boise State fan.
Yeah, it was really weird. It felt like, you know, I mean, from what we saw in Assault, you would think that Ontario Tech was the team who was sort of dazed and confused. I mean, we saw Golden Weeb fall off the edge on the Mercy. They really just, yeah, you mentioned, they never reset. It was just really this long, drawn-out engage. If one person goes in and dies, and then Nacho Time rolls back in and dies. It was really a very awkward engage from Ontario Tech. So now they are up against it. If Boise State wins here, they're headed to the semifinals. If Ontario Tech wins, we're going to map 3. They're going to pull out the Symmetra to teleport in. Doesn't look like they really beat Boise State anywhere, as the Broncos right there. Nice ice wall from Frost, who's now onto that May. Nacho Time is swapped over as well onto the Zarya, and it's been a whole swap all around, but Blitz still staying on that Reaper. Not that McCree that's got him a ton of value. Nacho Time and Golden Weave dropping low, but there's no elimination quite yet, as that Moira just barely hangs on with temporary HP. Nice wall there to try and prevent Calcium from getting back to his team. A rage form from Blitz is able to keep him alive, and a nice pin from Calcium gets first elimination. Golden Weave's dropped down the Coalescence as well. Blitz picks up 1. Pleb's going to try and do what he can with his own Coalescence, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to find much value. Narbles has just taken down Slifer, and Boise State this time should be the ones who take a key from us and D'Angelo and potentially reset. Quidgeable going to throw down that Gravitic Flux. He'll slam down the 2 tanks, Calcium and Nacho Time, but neither of them will be taken now. Blitz takes down Beanie Bump. Point favoring now Ontario Tech, and Boise State starting to make the same mistakes we saw. There's no reset here. They've lost Beanie Bump. Shatter comes out onto Narbles. Maywall goes up. Blitz gets trapped, and he will be taken out. Grabs up for Nacho Time. He'll immediately use it. Only traps down Quidgeable, though, and a Sound Barrier from Rick comes out after the Shatter lands from Icy, and Boise State will commit to their own, looks like the Death Blossom Photon Barrier has been used. Everyone's just, at this point, just fighting in what you can almost think of a solo queue game here, D'Angelo, as neither team is opting for reset. We see the Photon Barrier from Slifer. Frost has gone down, and neither team willing to give an inch, as Boise State right now still contesting. Rick dropping low. And the Broncos right now just have not decided for a reset. This cost Ontario Tech last time. Boise State still contesting. Golden Weave's going to commit the Coalescence. Frost is now committed the Blizzard here. Doesn't find anything but Slifer as a freeze on a Nacho Time comes out, and the Broncos starting to finally get the edge here. A turret does get their own lone elimination for Ontario Tech. A freeze will go out onto Calcium, and finally Boise State starting to rack up eliminations. They still have not flipped the point. They will get it off, and conventions have gone out the window at this point, D'Angelo.
Yeah, conventions have. It is absolutely a solo queue game, or at least that's what it looks like. That's even what we saw from Goblin earlier today too, popping behind the enemy team. I believe Boise State would have gotten that like 30% sooner if they had just reset once in that 59% there.
Well, they have the alt advantage. They've got Gravitic Flux, they've got Shatter, and they've got Sound Barrier. There's nothing up for Ontario Tech for quite a while. It's just the Shatter and nothing else really even close. Sound Barrier would be the next one they could potentially get online here. Quidgeable waiting. There is the Gravitic Flux. He'll catch 2. He'll slam him right back down. It's just on the Nacho time who takes the damage. And Calcium's the first elimination. Slifer will go down as well. Golden Weave will follow. Blitz is the next target, and Boise State has started to inch their way closer to the semifinals. They get a 5K, and now they're going to be leading in percent by the time the Ridgebacks get back.
Now that Boise State has the point, they seem to remember that this is a team game.
Yes.
And they play off of each other. The follow-up on that Gravitic Flux was amazing. That was nice. That was very well executed. Now we'll be watching Blizzard and Coalescence for this next fight win.
Just a Shatter online for Ontario Tech. Photon Barrier, Sound Barrier close. Frost does get the Blizzard down, but he will be taken out. Slifer gets taken out, so it's a 1-for-1. Sound Barrier from Beanie Bum committed. Not sure I like that. But a Coalescence from Golden Weave is brought out as well. So Pleb's still hanging on. It's a Shatter for Icy. And Boise State now 25% away.
That Sound Barrier getting used there instead of a point in which it would have been much more useful and defensive, I'm going to go ahead and predict is going to get a point flip for Ontario Tech.
They've got the Photon Barrier up. There's a Shatter, lands onto 3. Photon Barrier's committed a Death Blossom from Narbles, but unfortunately for Boise State, the Sound Barrier from Rick comes out. They don't have their own. They just have a Coalescence, and they'll trade 1 for 2 here. They're going to get to 99% as Blitz throws down his own Death Blossom. A grab comes out as well. Point will flip, but it took every ult from Ontario Tech, and the Broncos can regroup here.
Yes, the Broncos can regroup here. If they attack like they did last time, things are not looking good because it took them 59% of a staggered fight to finally win that. So hopefully Boise State just groups up after that.
Next fight will win. If it's the Broncos, they're on to the semifinal. If it's Ontario Tech, we're on to map number 3. Coalescence from Golden Weave comes out. There's Gravitic Flux from Quidgeable that's going to be committed. They've already lost Beanie Bum and Narbles. Quidgeable gets one back onto Rick. Icy gets Slifer, but they've lost Frost as well. It's a 3v4 for Ontario Tech right now. Icy goes down, and for Boise State, they're not going to have time for a quick recontest. Pleb has got to blink onto the point. In the final seconds here, he engages into overtime. Beanie Bum goes down, and Ontario Tech is sending us to a map number 3. You can run in all you want, Boise State. It's not going to work. They can just try and buy out overtime here. Quidgeable and Icy can do their best. Quidgeable taken out of the mech. He will go down. Icy will go down as well. Pleb is committed to Coalescence. It's not really going to matter, unfortunately. They're just trying to fight 1v6 at this point. There it is. We're heading to map number 3, D'Angelo. And for Boise State, we talked about it. That Sound Barrier.
Yep.
They needed it when they had it. They almost had it. They needed that Sound Barrier when Rick threw it down. They probably win this map.
Yeah.
They were that close.
It's almost like on Volskaya. They were that close.
Yep. But here we go. This is for all the marbles right here. It's Boise State, it's Ontario Tech. It's map 3 of game 5 on Lijiang Tower. The winner goes to the semifinal to play the winner of Midland and Michigan Tech. The loser, unfortunately, can only watch from home for the semifinals and the finals. And it's going to be a good one here. Both teams going to bring out the Symmetra. It's all about who gets the teleport off quicker.
Who gets the teleporter off quicker and who is able to destroy the enemy's teleporter quicker, because that is also important. If half their team TPs, but the other half is stuck.
Either teleporter was brought down. Immortality Field committed by Pleb, and Boise State gets the first elimination on to Rick.
Nice.
We do see right now, no team has really given up on their comp. We do see Quidgeable on the Orisa. The only difference is Nacho time is on that Zarya for the grabs. Icy takes down Calcium as well. Blitz and Slifer dropping low. Point has unlocked. Blitz will go down. Slifer will fall as well. Boise State has only lost Narbles right now. I don't know if they took down the teleporter. They're trying to take it down right now. They do get it down, and they get the point in map number 3.
Icy carry question mark? That was 2 charge kills in one fight. That was absolutely amazing. That was absolutely amazing. 2 charge kills in one fight, and then you just kind of hammer swung at everybody else, and that was a nice job. Narbles, unfortunately, was the price, but now he's back in time for next fight.
All the pressure on Ontario Tech. They need to flip this point. As we talked about, winner goes to the semifinals. A window goes down, and Boise State picks up 3. Icy carry question mark might turn into an exclamation mark here.
Icy carry exclamation point. There we go. That's ya boy.
31%. Winner to the semifinals here. This is map 5. Game 5, excuse me. Map 3 on Control Lijiang Tower. Boise State's been oh so close a couple of times, both on Volskaya and map 2. They're going to teleport right behind him. Golden Weave's going to commit the Coalescence there. Nice immortality field for Pleb, but it's not going to be enough to keep Narbles alive. Sound barriers used. The teams trade one for one. Slifer goes down. Death Blossom from Blitz is going to shut down the Supercharger and Quenchable. Icy can't find a charged target. And Boise State, unfortunately, probably got to reset. They're going to get to 60% as Beanie Bum's going to stall it out as long as possible. He gets taken out. The point will flip for Ontario Tech.
Point will flip for Ontario Tech. Things are looking a little bit rough for a Boise State recontest there because they're walking into a grab without a beat. However, they are really close to Blizzard, but you can't aggro Blizzard before they grab if you're still 8% behind.
Yeah, we also see the sound barriers up for Rick, and he's done a really good job dodging things like the EMP. So if he can dodge the Blizzard, he might be able to shut him down. We're going to see the grab committed early. Might have been a misclick there from Nacho Time, and Boise State has it in. Photon Barrier, Blizzard, both going to be committed. There's a sound barrier from Rick, but it only lands onto 2. Boise State going to get a double freeze. They get a double boop off the edge as well from Beanie Bum. Boise State's going to wrap things up here in this fight. So they are going to take down Pleb. They unfortunately are not going to get anyone else. And Boise State now flips the point back. They only have to go into a shatter.
3 environmental kills in one fight. That Beanie Bum has been upgraded to Beanie Babe. What an amazing performance there. Ontario Tech was not ready.
Potential last fight here for the Ridgebacks. They have just a shatter with a Death Blossom at 70% and a Coalescence as well. Nice teleport, but it's going to be blocked off by the Maywall by Frost. Immortality field from Pleb committed maybe a bit early, but Rick will be taken down.
Ooh.
Oh, a nice boop off the edge by Nacho Time. Coalescence or Golden Weave has been committed. The shatter was used well by Icy, and Boise State, they can't get to 99%, but they're oh so close. The Broncos need to win just one fight.
No, the boops have been huge. The boops, man. Oh, that was just used to our detriment there. The boops, man. They've been insane.
Boise State's got the sound barrier. They've got the Amp Matrix, and they've got the Supercharger. Ontario Tech just has the Death Blossom in game number 3. Winner to the Nace semifinals. Boise State can afford to slow play it here. Ontario Tech only at 68% and climbing. The Broncos at 98. They win a fight. It's game over. Ant Matrix comes down first here. They're going to get a pick on to Slifer to kick things off. There's still a Death Blossom shatter. Can the sound barrier get down? Yes, it can. It's only going to take down Frost in the Immortality field. Icy's going to take down Calcium as well. Blitz the next target, but he's able to force down the Narbles as well. And the Photon Barrier will fade. As Boise State right now, they're sitting on the point, but it's up towards 88%. They're going to lose Pleb, and now for the Broncos, their last recontest might be a scattered one, as they could not find a way to break through Ontario Tech. The Ridgebacks climbing here at 96%. It's last chance for the Broncos, and they're running out of members. It's in overtime. Boise State has got to find a way to flip this point, or Ontario Tech will win. Photon Barrier from Slifer going to come out. Narbles can get the teleporter off if he can respawn. Unfortunately, he was just eliminated along with Pleb. You see Slifer right now holding strong. Icy's got the shield up in the corner. Going to see Quidgible try and get in there on the Wrecking Ball. Unfortunately for Boise State, they just can't get 6 members back on the point. They're running into their deaths. And Ontario Tech is going to wrap this up here. And they will be heading to the semifinals in probably one of the best games we've seen all semester, D'Angelo.
That was upsetting.
Yes.
But it was very, very nice to cast. Boise State, I think, did an amazing job. There were a couple of little things here and there, but they also took advantage of a lot of mistakes that Ontario Tech was making. So overall, not a bad performance.
See how the semifinals end up working out. It's Boise State Blue versus Northwood on the left side. Probably the two favorites in the tournament. Both teams ranked very highly in several coaches' polls. Northwood peaking at number 4, and even the winners of HughFest in Overwatch earlier this semester. Meanwhile, on the right side, it's Ontario Tech and Midland. Midland, of course, a very formidable opponent. They were the only team to take a map off Boise State Blue in the NECC, and they beat Boise State Orange in the NECC as well, whose playoffs are right around the corner for Boise State. So,
yes.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
If Ontario Tech plays like they played against Orange, they can't take Blue. They can't. Midland took a map off of Blue, but a map is a map.
Yep.
So blue is still favored to win that. I think who is going to win this tournament is coming down to Boise State versus Northwood. Whoever wins that, I believe, will win the tournament. And it is definitely going to be an uphill fight for Boise State blue there because Northwood, both of their tanks and one of their DPS are contenders players. They have like several top Twitch streamers in the rankings.
They're a talented team.
They are a talented team. They are very formidable. This is definitely going to be rough for Boise State blue.
Well, before we get to that, we, of course, have our ICCU player of the game for the match we just saw. It is going to go over to Narbles, who was pretty excellent on the McCree. I will say Blitz probably one-upped him just a bit here and there, but...
False.
On the McCree, at least. On the McCree, at least. Which was really shocking. Blitz didn't bring it out on control. I mean, that was kind of shocking.
Stand Narbles. I didn't see Blitz on the McCree, and I was like, oh, Boise State's got the map. Don't worry. Don't worry about it,
He's proven
guys.
us wrong, right? We were saying, Narbles can play everything. Blitz could just play McCree. He's like, hey, I'll just bring out the Reaper. I mean, I won't really say he did a whole lot on control that made me go, oh, wow, but his team won. So we got to give him that. But still, a huge shout-out to Narbles and the rest of Boise State Orange, whose Nace season will come to an end. I know their upper portion of NECC did not hear if they made the playoffs. You'd have to think that they did. They did make the playoffs. They will play Saturday in the NECC playoffs. So this team's got to regroup quickly and be able to refocus because they might even have to take on Midland in those playoffs depending on how the bracket works out. So it's Narbles who's your ICCU player of the game. We see his highlights here. ICCU, who believes a great player makes a team more successful. It's like they're helping their members achieve financial success. A hard-fought. I know there's other games like Rainbow Six who call it a hard-fought victory. Yeah. That is the best way to describe what we just saw for Ontario Tech. A hard-fought, well-fought victory. Either team deserved to win this one, and it came to the very end.
Yes, it did come to the very end. And Narbles did an absolutely amazing job. Good job for being the player of the game. Narbles brings a lot to the Boise State team, and so it makes me happy every time he gets recognized.
Yeah, and it's something we talk about all the time. Sometimes you usually do learn more from losing than from winning, and they'll go back, they'll see overtime on Assault, and they'll see second point Lijiang Tower where that sound barrier was probably committed early, and they'll say, hey, we do those differently. We're in the semifinals. But it's a learning experience, and that's something Boise State does very, very well. Well, we will wrap this game up. We'll see if we have time for the semifinals. I know we have Valorant coming up as well. I mean, this has gone on longer than anticipated with a 5-game multi-overtime, multi-map control. So we'll see if we've got the semifinals between Boise State or Northwood. We are going to have that. So we are going to have Boise State Northwood coming up. You got the top 5. We'll take a break. Then we got the semifinals. Boise State Northwood, Nace playoffs coming up next.
Icy over there doing what Beanie Bum refers to as the Lord's work, capping the point. Pretty clean fight. Boise State can take this unless they're at full strength.
Okay, you see 4 ults available. The sound barrier coming online soon. It's just a Deadeye for Narbles as Blitz can use his Deadeye. This one just to zone it out. That is it for Boise State. There's nothing I can say. 5-man EMP, 6-man shatter, team kill Ontario Tech. GG Boise State right there. Time there. We will have enough to shut down to lay down the minefield and go zooming around in circles. Blitz taken out. Golden Weave, the next target, actually just fell off the edge. Frost takes down Calcium, but Beanie Bum and the Quadruple Mech have gone down as well. Rick will fall. There's a Pulse Bomb once again from Sliver who takes down the Baby Diva. The Broncos right now are just baiting Ontario Tech into running into their death. And it looks like Boise Nacho time, and Boise State has an in. Photon Barrier, Blizzard, both going to be committed. There's a sound barrier from Rick, but it only lands onto 2. Boise State going to get a double freeze. They get a double boop off the edge as well from Beanie Bum. Boise State's going to wrap things up here in this fight. So they are going to take down Pleb. They unfortunately are not going to get anyone else, and Boise Ontario Tech back. They'll take down Slifer and Calcium. There's no res available for Rick. They're going to try and chase him down. Going to be able to get him this time. And Boise State right now, they are down in time. Should they force overtime, they're decently on their way. 79% towards forcing us to an overtime here on Assault. Nice pick onto Golden Weave in the Baby Diva form. Bomb doesn't find anything, but it's enough to zone him off. Blitz has given up on the Reaper. He's back to that McCree. Double EMP up. Coalescence up for Ontario Tech. Sound barrier coming online soon. Frost might be able to land it. There it is. 5-man EMP. Going to throw down the 4-man shatter as well. But Rick gets the sound barrier. It does not matter. There's a 3-man Deadeye for Boise State.
Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your guard adventure.
Here in Idaho, we do things a little differently. First rule, camouflage never goes out of style. Next, always use fry sauce. I mean, why wouldn't you? Hold steady when out-of-state friends think you're from Iowa. We call it pop, not soda. We always put a lift on our pickups. And we always buckle up because we still have a lot we want to do, and I'm guessing you do too.
Legendary parts for legendary wins.
Growing up in Idaho, we have certain rules we live by. Hold steady when out-of-state friends think you're from Iowa. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
In the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena, we're going to head on to the Nace semifinals here between Boise State Blue and Northwood here. The orange team unfortunately unable to advance, but the blue team was, and now they'll take on Northwood, who one of the strongest teams in the Overwatch scene collegiately. They won Hugh Fest earlier. They're a top 5 team in a lot of polls, and Boise State's going to have their work cut out for them here, D'Angelo. But a really great test against probably one of the best teams you'll see. They 3-0'd Mizzou, who is also just a really, really strong team. So you know Northwood is a very, very stout opponent.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Boise State Blue 100% has their work cut out for them. They're going to have to play their absolute best. So that means no flanking behind the enemy team. They need to play as a group because it's likely that they're going to get outskilled on a mechanical level. It's likely that Northwood, with their top 30 Twitch streamers and their contenders players, it's likely that they're going to out-mechanical skill them. So Boise State Blue has to play better as a team.
Yeah, Boise State Blue, I mean, we saw it in that game against Ontario Tech for Orange. You've got to be able to play as a team. You can't come out as a solo queue hero here because, yeah, you mentioned Northwood. Multiple players on contender teams, including both of their tanks, and it's going to be a very, very rough game for Boise State. But we've seen it in the past in other games where Boise State, skill-wise, MMR-wise, you would think they're going to get run over. They play better as a team, and they're able to take down a more individually gifted team, and that's what Boise State Blue is going to have to do here against Northwood. We are in the semifinals here. Probably, as you and I both have mentioned, nothing against Ontario Tech and Midland. Winner here probably ends up winning it. Boise State Blue has already defeated Midland in a different competition. So you'd have to think they would be favored if they win, and Midland, who's the higher seed, wins over Ontario Tech. But right now they've got to get through Northwood. And I'm really curious to see, I mean, even if they lose, this will be a great test of where Boise State Blue ranks in the upper echelon of Overwatch teams. As we mentioned, Hugh Fest, Boise State was a top 16 team. Northwood won.
Yeah, Northwood just they took it.
They're the champions.
Yep. Boise State Blue, win or lose, how they perform against Northwood, if they win, they're probably going to win the tournament. It's probably going to come down to Boise State Blue or Northwood. However, even if they lose, Northwood is still one of the top esports programs in the nation, like top 5. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal. So if Boise State can hold their own, take some maps off, or even take them all the way to 5 maps, that would be absolutely amazing. And I mean, Boise State already has a recognizable program anyway, but going up against Northwood is going to get us a lot more of that.
Yeah, this is where you take that next step to be in the upper echelon of program. I mean, Northwood just 3-0'd Mizzou, who is... They're a little, I mean, from when Boise State has played them on stream, Mizzou's a little bit better. I've heard Mizzou and Boise State scrim a ton, and the Broncos have actually been winning a lot of those. So, I mean, Mizzou and Boise State very, very close, and Northwood just 3-0'd Mizzou. So Boise State's got their work cut out for them as we see Doc's keys to the game for Overwatch here. We always talk about never taking a fair fight. This is exactly what it means. Do it in unexpected places, when the enemy team's not prepared, and when you can have ability advantages. It's all brought to you by Count, whose Identity and Trust Global Network delivers real-time fraud prevention, account protection, and enables a personalized customer experience for more than 9,000 leading brands and payment providers. If you want to stay safe online, go check them out at count.com, KOUNT.com. And this is something Boise State's going to have to do a ton of against Northwood, is taking these unfair fights and being able to catch them when they are not ready as we kick things off here on Control.
Boise State is absolutely going to have to play flawlessly as a team if they want to win this.
Really curious to see. Both tanks, as we mentioned, Akash and Cowman 7-1-1 on contenders teams in previous season. So they're going to be the force to watch out for on the side of the Northwood Timberwolves. Boise State, they're running a little bit different of a comp. They're going to come out with the Wrecking Ball Diva, but they are still going to bring out the Brig, the Zenyatta, and the Echo. And meanwhile, for Northwood, they're all over the place, including Dynasty sitting on that Widowmaker. But McCree and Tyler, probably someone we want to watch out for. We've seen him wreak havoc, especially with Blitz in our last match. So can he get that Deadeye value that can flip fights? It'll be huge here on map number 1.
And Boise State is playing the long game. They're playing, not the long game. They're playing the elim game. They're playing the damage game. They don't have a lot of healing. Northwood out-heals them by far, so they've got to just kill things.
Well, Akash is going to get the first pick on the Guac. He's going to win the battle of the Wrecking Balls. Morb drop low, but he was not able to be taken out there. Landon's going to take down Plato. Tyler dropping low with the Orb of Discord, but unfortunately for Boise State, they get the health bars low. They just can't finish it off, and it looks like Northwood's going to take control first.
Boise State, I believe, got individually... I think they got kind of individually outskilled there. I don't think they fully committed as a team, and I think that's what lost them that fight.
I haven't seen many picks from Dynasty on that Widowmaker. You can see the health bars just skyrocketing down from Kell and Goblin, so you know he's there. Tyler will pick up the kill onto Goblin. And unfortunately for Boise State, they have not found it in quite yet. He's going to hit the flashbang onto Kell, force him out of the mech. Glock does take down Tyler, which should be able to keep Kell alive. He's in the Baby Diva form. He's got Cowman staring him down. But it looks like Cal is going to be able to survive. Morb once again with the Orb of Discord. Cannot be taken low. Landon and Cowman incredibly low. Can Boise State find the punish? They cannot with the Immortality Field coming down. Goblin has now switched over to his own Widowmaker, and he's going to snipe down the Immortality Field. The Broncos want to get in the face of them. They're able to take down Dynasty, but Landon's going to be able to resustain and take down Guac. And once again, Boise State can get the health bars low. They just can't quite finish him off. We're going to see a window comes down from Landon there. Gravitic Flux is going to be committed by Cowman as Tyler and Landon will take down one aside. Kel forced out of the mech, and Boise State unfortunately going to lose 5 members.
Boise State did a much better job at diving and committing there as a team. Both of their tanks went onto the Widowmaker, and the Widowmaker died. They didn't have their DPS ready to engage, though, and I do believe that's what's been causing them a lot of problems. Sound barrier up for Morb. We see the Deadeye up for Tyler, and right now Northwood doing a great job holding Boise State in their spawn and trying to bait the Broncos into a fight they don't want to take. You see Cal on the back line trying to get the flank there.
Gonna have to run away. Barely survives. No, the mech will be taken out there. There's the dead from Tyler, but a great job by Guac, who's gotten a pick there. Guac has been doing a really good job keeping Boise State in this as much as he can. Goblin does get one on to land, and we see a rally come out from Asu, and Boise State's got to get on the point now with overtime just around the corner. We see Cowman taking the Orbit Discord. He is dropping low. They're still holding onto the sound barrier. Incredible patience here from Morb as Dynasty's going to get a pick onto Kell in the Baby Diva form. The Broncos at 98% will hop onto the point. Morb now commits the aggro sound barrier, trades out the Transcendence from a large bagel as well. Goblin going to win the battle of the Widowmakers there on the Dynasty. The Cash dropping low, but Cowman gets the pick onto Plato. Boise State got to hold on here. They cannot afford to lose a fight, or it is map over to Northwood. There's the Gravitic Flux and the Immortality to be able to pick off Cowman before the slam comes down. There's the Infrared Sight, and unfortunately for Boise State, they're going to trade 3 for 3 here. On to Northwood, waiting for this point to flip here. Dynasty has to be careful as Goblin peeked him a couple times. Goblin, though, is still respawning. Window's going to come down from landing. Cowman swapping over to the Winston, and Boise State does finally flip the point.
Quizdick flips the point. Their tanks are very, very scared there in that little corner there with the low HP bars, just kind of waiting for their healers to get there so they can kind of sustain a little bit.
Kel's going to throw out the Diva Bump, gets one onto Dynasty, and barely sneaks back into the mech. Tyler will take down Plato, but the Broncos going to go up 1 here with a nice pick onto Morb. They'll take down the Immortality field. Going to hop right in the face of the landing, and Kel doing a great job taking them down, and Boise State making Northwood work for it. We will see the Deadeye come out. He's only able to get the Baby Diva before a large bagel picks him. And we're going to see Dynasty now swap over to Hanzo, but Boise State still holding on to the point.
Boise State's in it now. They're going on the same targets. They're playing amazingly as a team now that they have the point. They seem to have fallen into their roles better, and they've fallen into a little bit of a rhythm.
We'll trade out 1 for 1. Minefield does take down Guac, who's close to his minefield as well. See if he can get it back and drop it down before the point does flip against him. Large Bagel wins his little 1v1 onto Moore. Plato takes down Dynasty as well. Kel gets forced out of the mech, and Tyler will be taken down by Plato. Boise State holding strong against Northwood here. The Hugh Fest champions in a game in the semifinals of the Nace Skill Shot Playoffs. So Large Bagel will take down Landon. If Boise State getting really close here, they're up to 65%.
Up to 65%. Things are looking pretty good for Boise State in terms of ultimate economy. Northwood, they need to get value out of this next mines, is what they need to get value out of.
There's a minefield from Guac.
Oh, no.
He will get stunned and cannot get anywhere. Tyler will be traded off, though, and so will Dynasty. Double DPS taken out. A double pulse bomb kill from Plato. Boise State fighting right back here, getting up towards 85%.
I feel like this game has been a rough time for Kel and Guac there. Like, Kel spent a lot of time as Baby Diva, and poor Guac just keeps getting stunned and melted. But it's not necessarily costing them fights, so...
They pick on to Landon. There's the sound barrier from Morb as Dynasty gets Guac. The teams trade 1 for 1, and now Goblin will be taken out. Unfortunately, Boise State's healing just starting to run low. We see a Primal Rage committed there by Cowman. Landon has swapped over to the Moira. Kel dropping low. Asu taken out on the point, but he will take down Dynasty. Large Bagel gets a turret as Tyler swapped over to the Torbjorn. Wonder if he'll get Goblin onto that at any point in this match. It's 99-99. Next fight win probably is a map winner. You can see Northwood incredibly close to flipping it, but Boise State's still in control for now. Landon's going to pick up a double kill. Cowman gets one onto Plato. Deadeye comes out from Goblin, but the point's going to flip and he can't move. So Northwood, a very, very close control map here, number 1, but it still goes the way of the Timberwolves.
Yes, absolutely. When you are Northwood, you want to take... Northwood is much, much better at taking those individual 1v1s and cleaning up the kills when it's just them versus somebody else. Boise State needs to play as a team, and when you're staggering in, it's already really, really difficult to try to win a fight, but it's especially difficult if you're going up against the likes of Northwood with the mechanical skill that they have and the target focus that they have.
Boise State's giving them a run for their money, though. I mean,
absolutely.
There is no doubt that Boise State has greatly improved since their top 16 at Hugh Fest, where Northwood were the champions. Because, I mean, there's a couple times where guys on Northwood were 10, 20% life, and if Boise State just finds that one extra damage or that one extra headshot, they win. It does look like for now Northwood's going to swap things up. They're going to bring out the Doomfist and the Pharah. No mercy, though, so no pocket for the pharmacy there. And Plato's going to get one on the Dynasty right now. Boise State looking strong. Control point hasn't quite unlocked yet, but the Broncos still sitting up 1. Cowman dropping incredibly low. A large bagel finishes him off. Target focus has been really strong for Boise State. Goblin on the Genji will go down, and much as we talked about D'Angelo, Cal spent a lot of time in that Baby Diva form as he's sitting out of mech once again.
Yes, very true. But somebody needs to cap a point. Might as well be Baby Diva there.
Hey, he does actually get the point for Boise State before he gets booped off the edge. Plato's going to take down a cache, and Boise State's still holding strong right now. Does look like Northwoods trying to force their way on, as Dynasty and Tyler going to pick up one a pair. Immortality Field has come out. Plato really doing a great job here on this Ash, making Tyler's life just miserable, but the point finally does flip back to Northwood.
Boise State loses when they start trying to take those individual 1v1s. When they get singled out, Boise State just gets clean wiped. But when they stick together, they take the point, and they do an amazing job, and they keep Tyler in his spawn.
Boise State's DPS have done a really, really good job, and unfortunately Guac and Kel are going into maybe the two strongest players on Northwood in a Cash and Cowman. They have struggled a little bit so far, as Kel once again out of the mech. Tyler taken out there by Guac. Window down from Landon, but Kel in the baby uniform takes down Plato. Bob called in, and Landon will immediately take that one out. We see a Valkyrie committed here by Asu, and a Cash going to take down Plato as well. Goblin, though, picks up one onto a Cash. The team's trading evenly. Bad news for Boise State. The point is still favored Northwood. So we see a nice roll there for the reload onto Morb, and Boise State's holding their own, and a nice back cap there from Guac, making Northwood pay for this one, and Boise State's going to get control again.
Nice little back cap from Guac. They did win that fight, but he did get a lot of extra percentage in there, and I mean, it's all about percentage.
Right now, Guac going to hop onto a Cache. Goblin's going to use the Deadeye. Sounds like he might just use it to reload, or he didn't see anyone in sight because it's already been canceled. There's a sound barrier from a large bagel. Immortality Field from Landon will come out. Sound barrier from Morb will be used as the mines get scattered everywhere by Guac. Rocket Barrage is online for Tyler if he wants to drop it, and he's going to drop it right on top of Boise State in the point, baiting them in. He will get taken out by Goblin, but not before he takes down both Boise State tanks. Goblin, though, takes down Cowman. Neither tank, I will say, the Angels, having a fun time right now for any team, as Boise State's doing a great job as a Cash takes down Goblin.
No, absolutely not. The Boise State tanks are not having a fun time, but I mean, that sometimes that is the sacrifice of playing main tank, is you don't have a fun time while Goblin and Plato pop off.
Boise State right now has got to get back on the point. Northwood nearing 70%. Tyler's now on to the Genji. Found really nothing on that far besides that one rocket barrage. And we see the Meteor Strike and the Ant Matrix are up, plus the whole hog. Boise State right now close to a couple of ultimates, but not quite there yet. There's a Diva Bomb as Plato's going to take down Morb. Guac now going to try and jump over right on top of Landon. He'll slam down. Immortality Field will come out. He'll be able to destroy it. No, he has to retreat away. Large Bagel taken out. Meteor Strike committed. Goblin just barely surviving, and now Tyler will take him down, but Plato trades that one off in a 1-for-1. Hook onto Guac, and he gets taken out as well as an Ant Matrix from Landon. He's hanging out all alone there. Boise State can't get to the point, and Northwood wins game one, but Boise State definitely making them work for it.
Boise State is making them work for it and work hard. Boise State is definitely getting a lot of value. And Tyler, poor Tyler, that entire time spent on Farah, he got one good Q that he was immediately headshot out of, but Rocket Barrage does like the most damage in the game, and so he was still able to kill both of our tanks who were, I believe, low anyway. He had just gotten the Diva out of mech, like a smart Farah does, before they barrage. And Guac was sitting at like 150, 200 HP. And so he didn't have to barrage for very long to kill both of them. And at that point, you sacrifice yourself, but you're up 2. And you win the fight. And you win the map.
Yeah, and it was a really great job by Tyler. We see the players here for Boise State. Guac, Kel, Goblin, Plato, a large bagel, and Asu taking on Cowman, Landon, Morb, Tyler, Akash, and Dynasty. It was a really, really good job by Tyler to hop onto the point, and he kind of pulled everyone for Boise State. They're like, hey, they're trying to back cap, send the tanks over, and he baited them out and then just immediately hit Rocket Barrage, and I don't know if they were ready for it. So it was a really good play by Tyler. But yeah, Boise State's DPS, especially Plato on that second map on the Ash, they were making Tyler's life just a living nightmare. I mean, Boise State's DPS feel like tanks probably favored Northwood. DPS have favored Boise State.
Yes, absolutely. Their Boise State DPS are, in fact, winning that individual skill thing. And that is pretty huge, considering some of the players on Northwood are top streamers, contenders players. So that's actually just super impressive on the side of Plato and Goblin. Not that we expected any less from them. I mean, we knew they were exceptional players. But when you're against a team like Northwood, that's tested. And we're seeing them come out on top.
Yeah, Northwood, though, still victorious, so we will head over to Escort here. This is the Nace semifinals. The winner here will play the winner of Ontario Tech and Midland. And from all indications, probably be a heavy favorite in that game regardless. So this probably going to be the two best teams here. Unfortunately, the bracket makes them play off in the semifinals. And we're curious to see what Boise State has as the blue team, much like the orange team, after losing control, going to pick Havana.
Havana, let's see if they do the fantastic... It doesn't look like they're setting up for a close hold, but let's see if we can prevent Northwood from capping point 1, see if we can outdo Orange's fantastic job on Havana.
Looks like we're going to see some very interesting choices from Northwood. Definitely residing to player skill sometimes can offset the meta, because we've seen Widowmaker this entire time, usually from Dynasty, but this time it's in the hands of Tyler. And Dynasty going to pellet the Torbjorn, so I'm sure Goblin's happy and can just point to the Boise State coaches and be like, see, Northwood can do it. Why can't I play Torbjorn?
Because you spend time as Torbjorn behind the enemy team. That's why.
You know what? He's making a good case for Widowmaker as well. He'll put one in the head of Morb and take him out. He'll also take down the Torbjorn turret. And Boise State's gone with the double sniper comp here with Plato on that Hanzo. See what Boise State wants to do. They've got the double shield, but a Cash going to get right in the face of Goblin, and he's going to take him down. Boise State trying to find a way to shut down Northwood here, as we talked about, not going for the close hold. Going to try and get that halt off. Fortify used by Guac, but he'll get shot in the back as he tries to retreat. Tyler's going to pick up 2, 1 onto Asu as well. Dynasty going to help take down Plato, and unfortunately for Boise State, they're going to lose everybody, and they're going to maybe reset here for a close hold, or you think you let them cap here, D'Angelo?
Boise State is not going to get a full recontest here. They might get a staggered recontest, but they're not going to be able to get 6 people on the point at once unless Northwood just doesn't kill them as they're coming to the point, and there's no reason why Northwood wouldn't, so I would just say that they're setting up on point 2.
Yeah, looks like that is the case for Boise State. 5 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock for Northwood, and they'll kick things off immediately with a pick onto a large bagel from a Landon. So these are going to be down 1 Zenyatta, and you can just see the tranquility difference, the transcendence difference there. And a large bagel after that, it's like, you know what, enough of that. I'm going to swap over to the Brig. Landon picks up a second one right now. Hey, making an immortality field as well. Zenyatta getting a ton of value for Northwood. Cal does finally take down Tyler. Cowman has the Gravitic Flux when he wants to commit it. Landed with his 3rd elimination of this fight. Somebody please find that Zenyatta and stop him right now, as there's a Gravitic Flux. Catches Guac without the Fortify, actually, so he is going to get slammed up and slammed back down. And a Cash is going to use that to take down both tanks for Boise State, and a great Gravitic Flux from Cowman there.
We finally killed the Zenyatta, but it was unfortunately too little too late, as he had already wiped out 3, and then the Gravitic Flux wiped out the rest of the remaining Broncos.
See Dynasty and his turret just chilling on the payload, slowly pushing it. Boise trying to find a way in. Cowman's got the shield out and put some chip damage. Dragon Strike will come out from Plato. Can actually clip right over the payload to take down Dynasty, who is kind of asleep at the wheel. Great job there by Boise State. Immortality Field comes out, as well as an Ant Matrix, so Tyler goes 1 in the head to Plato. Will take him out. Asu's going to take down a Cash, and a Dynasty with a turret will fall Goblin, who's now on the Doomfist, as an Infrasight comes out from Tyler. Both teams trying to use their window as much as they can. Guac will take down that turret. Now Cowman flanking from above. Kel commits the Gravitic Flux solo onto Cowman. Not sure that was the best bet. Doesn't even eliminate him in the process. And now Boise State's got to find a way to get unseparated. As you see, 3-man high, 3-man low. They're going to eat a Gravitic Flux from Cowman, but he will be stunned out, actually. But he's not able to finish the slam down, and Immortality Field from Asu is going to be baited out there. And now Northwood going to try and find an advantage here. There comes the Molten Core from Dynasty. Morb will go down as another Ant Matrix comes down from Asu. Unfortunately for Boise State, they will lose Guac, Supercharger, and Asu, but Goblin picks up 1 on the Dynasty. Tyler gets taken out by Plato as well. Minefield from a Cash will be used. And Goblin waiting there with the Meteor Strike. Cowman takes down a large bagel. The Zenyatta's going to pop the Transcendence on Landon. You can probably think as soon as that fades, Meteor Strike will be committed here by Goblin on the Doomfist. Now there it is. He's going to commit it. Also has a health reset. He'll come slamming down. Can't quite finish off Landon, and Cowman will find him. Great target focus there from Northwood. And Boise State's going to have to retreat.
Boise State does get a little bit of a staggered hold here. We kind of have some people in position. It doesn't look like we're going to take that, though, especially now with Cal down. We're just going to kind of set up for 3rd point.
Saw Dragon Strike come in, didn't quite hit the payload this time, and Goblin, who's now back on the Widowmaker, will be taken down by a Cash, and Northwood with 4 minutes on the clock, looking to 3-cap here on Havana against Boise State. For now, though, they'll fully abandon the payload as an Ant Matrix is going to come down from Morph. They'll take down Guac to start. Plato gets one back on a Tyler, now on the Genji. Cowman will pick off Asu, though, and Boise State going to have to retreat. Good news for them, though. Northwood has forgotten, but there's an objective behind them.
Good news for Boise State. They've lost a good
20 seconds.
20 seconds just not pushing the cart. Now they finally got somebody on it. And you have to wonder, what took them that long to realize that the cart existed?
Maybe they thought they could get an ace and a hard push to the rally come out from a large bagel. Gravitic Flux has been committed by Cowman. Dynasty will win the battle of the Torbjorn as he takes down Goblin. Plato only gets a turret, and Landon will then take down Goblin's turret as well. And Boise State has the Ant Matrix shut down. They're really not. Guac is like shooting in the wrong direction. Guac looked like he was attacking there for a second. He will flip back around. Boise State gonna lose a large bagel to the Dragon Blade as well as Asu. Plato does take down his brother though in the terms of the Genji, but Boise State right now unfortunately has not found more than a pick here or there against Northwood.
And Boise State was kind of playing really split there, and so it was really easy for Northwood to come in and pick them off one by one. I mean, we saw Guac making a valiant effort up front and mid, but the rest of his team was already dead or otherwise occupied.
Double Dragon Strike there from Plato, plus a Gravitic Flux is going to be able to eliminate a cache. You see the Molten Core has come out from Dynasty. Goblin's going to walk right through it and get a snipe onto Landon. Boise State with a nice little 3K there, and they're going to slow down Northwood with 2 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock.
Boise State can set up and play the distance fight here, and they're looking pretty good for it, especially since they have Molten Core and the kill on the Hammond. That'll definitely cost Northwood a couple of seconds there.
Goblin was just shooting at him, and the cache really didn't even move. That was kind of interesting. I mean, this is what we talked about, though. He's just putting in headshots in from the back line there. Gets one onto Morb as well, and Goblin on this Torbjorn finding a ton of success. Going to try and take out Landon. Minefield has been committed off screen by a cache on the payload. An Immortality Field from Asu. Going to be taken out in a cache there. He'll get his revenge on Goblin. He'll boop him right off the edge, who has the Molten Core available. Plus a Ant Matrix and a Supercharger. The Gravitic Flux comes out from Cowman. He'll come slamming down, and Boise State is going to lose 3 members. Goblin can get back in the fight and throw down the Molten Cores. Landon has thrown down the Immortality Field, and Boise State's starting to run out of members. There's the Molten Core going to be used by Goblin. Tyler commits the Dragon Blade here, and Boise State unfortunately starting to run out of members. They do have respawn advantage that should be able to allow them to contest as long as possible. Landon throw down another Ant Matrix there. Boise State bleeding members left and right. They're not going to be able to get on the point. Northwood with a minute and a half on the clock. Going to 3-cap here on Havana.
And a minute and a half is not a lot of time, actually, so Boise State did a good job on defense there.
Yeah, I mean, Boise State has really made Northwood work for it here. Even though, you know, they still 3-0'd them on Havana. It's like what we talked about with Boise State Orange. When they were winning games, they were 3-0 sweeps, but they were really close 3-0 sweeps. They'd win only 199 on control. They'd have to go into overtime on escort or hybrid. And Boise State has done a really good job of making Northwood work for it and kind of catching Northwood out in a couple times where you're like, really? That's a team that won Hugh Fest where you had a guy AFK on the payload just die and a cache AFK across the bridge. Boise State has found Northwood napping a couple of times.
15 seconds exactly would be the biggest time that Northwood was napping. 15 seconds of not pushing the payload.
Boise State setting up for the old pirate ship here. Of course, double shield back in the meta. Bastion has that ability to ride the turret, but the payload. But speaking of turrets, it looks like Goblin just was baiting us all out. He's going to go over to the Torbjorn.
Which does make a lot of sense. It's just a different turret on the point. One with significantly less damage. And Goblin needs to be careful because normally his flanker playstyle gets him a lot of value. But once Northwood identifies where he's at, he kind of gets messed up, just like we saw with Akash. He was getting a ton of value just shooting from the flank. But once they know where you are, you gotta bail. You gotta find some other angle because they're gonna come for you.
It doesn't look like a close hold here for Northwood, and Goblin's gonna pick one up onto Morb right away.
Nice.
Does look like from the turret he has got a flanker there. It looks like it was Tyler who's able to finally take that one out. So Boise State's got to be careful that there is a Genji behind him. You can see Guac turn right around there for a split second. Doesn't look like Tyler's trying to pressure at all. Goblin underneath, and there's Tyler going to take down AC before Plato will pick him off. So a good little flank there from that Genji. Immortality Field taken out as well as the Torbjorn turret, but Boise State still pushing along nicely here. You see Dynasty on the Torbjorn as well. As Goblin will take it down. Cal can take down Landon. And the Broncos right now haven't run into too much. A Cash can try and get in on the back line. He'll take down Plato and then retreat. Dynasty and Goblin going to have a little 1v1 here. Dynasty will be taken down eventually by Kel. And the turret placed down by Goblin. He's looking for a potential flank. He's got to be careful, though. as we mentioned, a cache right there, actually. That's who he was looking for. Comes rolling right past. Boise State right now trying to capture this point, keep themselves in contention for a possible overtime between them and Northwood. Nace semifinals, two of the best teams in the country in Overwatch right now. And a nice ante landing on the Goblin, but an Immortality Field will keep him alive. Guap takes down a cache right now. Northwood has not found an elimination in a while. You see a Deadeye will take on to Landon, and Boise State doing a nice job running through point number 1.
Boise State did a nice job. Their one little hiccup was Asu getting caught out by the Genji that everybody knew was behind them. But that was just a small hiccup and ultimately didn't cost them too much time, and it looks like they're set up pretty nicely.
Yeah, Cowman actually incredibly low. Boise State could not find the finishing blow, but doesn't look like anyone on his team really is bothering to. No one on his team is bothering to heal the man, please! It's just stressful for me to watch, but I guess they're like, he's got a shield, he'll be fine. No eliminations so far. I mean, he's got the Grimdick Flux. There we go. We finally healed him back up. And Matrix from the large big are going to come down. Molten Core will pick out more, but Boise State unfortunately going to lose 3 members. There's the Grimdick Flux. On to the remaining ones. They'll come slamming down Asu and Kel will. They're both barely alive. And for the first time, Northwood going to win a fight off Boise State and force a retreat there as Kel will go down, and a nice dynamite on the Guac as well.
This is not a good place for Boise State to be stopped there, especially now with that door closed. Now there's only 4 points of entry if you count the one in the middle. There's only 4 points of entry for Boise State here, and that's really easy to guard against. And Northwood has the high ground advantage. This is going to be a tough point for Boise State to take.
See there, Dynasty takes down Plato. Cowman does get taken out. The tanks for Northwood at times have played incredibly aggro, and Boise State's starting to find ways to punish them. Boise State looks like Goblin now wants to try and go for a flank. Molten Core comes out from Dynasty as well as a Nano onto a Cash who throws down the minefield, immediately takes down Guac. Tyler's going to pick up Kel as well. Goblin going for one of these cheeky flanks. He sees Morph, going to try and jump right onto him. Finally able to take him down. He uses the payload. There's a nice line of sight, but he'll just trade that one off, and that's what we've talked about, D'Angelo. The cheeky flanks work, but when Northwood finds him, he usually just gets eliminated.
Yes, absolutely, and at that point, it doesn't work. At that point, it doesn't count if you trade. Like,
just padding the stats.
Like, sometimes it counts depending on who you trade with. Like, normally it's a worthwhile trade for the Zenyatta, but you could have just backed off and hidden behind the cart and waited for your team instead of picking the 1v1 with the ball.
Bob comes in. Landon and Tyler going to pick up one aside. Boise State's got several low members of Northwood, and they'll be getting elimination on the Cash, but they'll have to trade it out for Plato. You see Cowman incredibly low as well. Goblin once again trying for a cheeky flank, has the Molten Core. Going to get one in the head from Dynasty and have to retreat and re-heal back up as that battle of the Torbjorns did go over to the side of Northwood, and Boise State's starting to run out of time. And as you mentioned, D'Angelo, this point right here has been so hard for Boise State to even get back to the payload.
Absolutely. I mean, Goblin touched it. Goblin touched it barely with the Zenyatta kill.
Molten Core does come out. Grimdick Flux is going to come out as well as the Nano onto a Cash. Morb's going to use the Transcendence. A Deadeye used. Boise State throwing on 3 ultimates to the side of Northwood, and they'll trade 2 for 2 there. Window comes down from a large bagel, but Kel will be taken out. All the mines being eliminated by Goblin, and Boise State right now almost has a pick on to Morb, and they are able to get him. +1 on the Tyler with the rally from Asu. Boise State should be able to get this cart out of this area that has caused them so much problems. They take down Cowman as well. Time low, but they still got a chance here to try for this second point.
They have a chance. This is a really, really difficult place to push through, but here's their chance. They've managed to do it 3 ultimates later. And I mean, 3 ultimates usually would constitute as an overcommit, but when you're at that difficult of a choke place, you really just want to make sure you get through sometimes.
Yeah, Northwood also committed 3 of their own, so Boise State ult for ult, pretty even there. They do have the supercharger available. They're going to use it, but Dynasty will immediately take it down. And here's Goblin once again on the flank. Guac will take down Tyler. Goblin trying to find something, but an Immortality Field from Morb, keeping everybody alive. And now Dynasty's going to turn on him. He's going to commit the Molten Core. Goblin's going to commit his as well. The whole field's just lava. God. And Goblin gets a 4K for Boise State. And the Broncos, well on their way to the 3rd checkpoint there. They've got 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
He either pops off or he dies. So there are 2 options. He either pops off or he dies.
Yeah,
in this case, he popped off. That was absolutely fantastic. He almost solo team killed by himself.
Guac's going to take down Landon, and Boise State's starting to give Northwood a run for their money as Plato will take down Morb. Here we go. Once again, Goblin on the flank. He'll realize that he was in over his little head, and he will retreat. Smart play by him as Boise State right now doing pretty well here. They're going to get to this bridge. Northwood ran into a little bit of problems here. We'll see if the Broncos can get through and take us to overtime here on Havana against Northwood in the Nace semifinals. Neither turret going to have much of a livelihood there, and looks like Northwood just setting up for a hold in the castle. Bob has joined the fight and will immediately take down Asu, who is sitting on the rally. The window's up as well, but Boise State wants to retreat while they wait for their break.
Especially a break with rally. Now we're probably going to go in, use Amp Matrix to get a good amount of space. Normally you can't get eliminations necessarily with Amp Matrix against teams that will just line of sight it. So I tend to think that we'll use it as kind of like a gain a lot of space and then go in with Brig to take the final remaining space that we need.
1 minute on the clock. So the Broncos cap, they will have less time in the bank, but they can still get the cap off nonetheless. Ant Matrix going to come down from Morb to start, and Goblin gets taken out there with the Nano onto a Cash, who swapped over to the Orisa, and he's able to get an elimination onto a large bagel. And Boise State here probably just going to smartly eat the fight and get a couple ultimates out, and then they'll have 3 here for the last chance.
They have a potential of 5 if they really want it, and they really need to want it here.
Yeah, Matrix comes down from a large bagel to start things off. They're going to get a pick onto a Cash. Nice. Cowman has the Gravitic Flux, but unfortunately they lose Goblin, who's not able to use that to get Molten Core. There's the Gravitic Flux from Kel committed. Cowman uses his own, and all the health bars get clipped in half. Thanos would be happy, but the Immortality Field stops anything else. Boise State now gets a pick onto Morb. They also take down the Immortality Field, but Tyler, who's on the Ash now, been doing a great job. He gets a pick. There's the Molten Core from Dynasty that has come out, but it's not going to land onto anything. And Cash will throw down his own Supercharger, and Cowman's able to pick up Asu. Plato's going to use the Infrared Sight. Goblin oh so close to the Molten Core that picked him up a 4K last time. Immortality Field comes out from Morb to keep the tanks alive. Asu going to switch over to the Ana. Overtime right around the corner for Boise State. We'll see if they can at least find a 3 cap. Goblin sees Landon over into the corner. Got to make sure you're on the point, as we've learned earlier today, and Boise State will do just that. Molten Core is going to be committed there by Goblin. Ton of hit markers as we see Bob join the fight and an Ant Matrix from Moore. Boise State will lose 2, and it looks like the payload, unfortunately, will run out of gas right in front of the castle entrance here. As 2 more go down, Asu the last man. Kel now the final hope for Boise State. He will eventually get soloed down. We'll see if the swaps over to Echo and Wrecking Ball can get on in time. They can. So Northwood on match point here will head over to Hybrid.
Havana third point is a really, really difficult point to cap just in general with the long sight lines, and Northwood was on the high ground with a team that really benefited from a lot of long sight lines, and so Boise State really had the work cut out for them on that point there.
Play of the game, though, does go over to Goblin. Picked up a 4 kill with his Molten Core, and much like we talked about on Control, it really feels like this time, Control was Plato, this time was Goblin. The Boise State DPS feel like they have the edge over the Northwood DPS.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We're definitely seeing some impressive DPS play. Goblin's a little bit of a 50-50. Plato is a little bit more reliable.
True.
When Goblin pops off, though, it is incredibly impressive. We're just going to not talk about the times where he doesn't. And then Plato always does an amazing job, gets consistent picks. And consistency is the key word with Plato. He's really high DPS play at a really consistent level, and Plato is just always dependable, and it's really nice. However, I do think that the Boise State tanks in particular are struggling a little bit against the Northwood tanks, but that's to be expected. Northwood tanks are semi-pro.
Yeah, the Northwood tanks are really strong. Boise State, hey, this time at least, you know, Kel didn't spend the whole game as Baby Diva. That was a positive for him. I will say Stella's got the rally cap on. We saw her right when we got back from that game. She's trying to will Boise State to a reverse sweep. We're going to go on to Hybrid. Boise State's usually not in this position. And I know that in previous semesters, I had always been told that Boise State practices everything but Kings Row for this exact instance. So maybe we see something like a Blizzard World come out.
Yes.
But Kings Row is always a good choice as well.
I actually think that their pick is probably going to be something. I think their pick is probably going to be Dorado, to be completely honest.
What about Eichenwald?
Possibly Eichenwald too.
So.
I mean, definitely. Eichenwald's definitely a great map.
That's what you said. You were going to say it's going to be Eichenwald.
But, you know,
I knew it.
Thank you for that.
I got you. Yeah, you were like,
Thank you
you
for
were
that.
going to try and cover all the maps because you knew you're like, I know it's going to be Eichenwald, but I want to keep them on their toes. So
Keep them on their toes.
it is Eichenwald here. It's match point for Northwood. Nace skill shot playoff semifinals. Winners on to the championship. Loser, unfortunately, will have to deal with a top 4 finish. And the winner also, nothing against Ontario Tech and Midland, probably heavy favorites in the finals.
Yes.
Either team that wins. I mean, Boise State Blue took down Midland in the NECC. Midland is the favorite in that game that I'm aware of.
Yes.
So I would have to think even if Boise State Blue pulls off the reverse sweep, their favorite. If Northwood wins, I mean, they've already won Hugh Fest. They would be big favorites as well. So
Yes.
this is probably a champion here between these two teams. Maybe
Which is
crazy.
ironic, because you're fighting for the 4th position right now. Whoever loses gets the top 4 finish. But really, these are the 2 teams that we should be watching in a finals match, because whichever one wins here is going to win the tournament, short of like a miracle.
Yeah, sometimes the brackets don't always go their way. It does look like Northwood has changed things up. They put Cowman on the McCree and they put Dynasty on the Zarya. So they're going to
Wild.
change things up here. Change over, maybe get some practice on some different roles as we're going to see Cowman roll away there. Because Boise State now trying to find a first elimination. Kell dropping low. The only thing that's been taken out is an immortality field. And now down goes a large bagel. Cowman proving he can play both tank and DPS very, very well. But Boise State is going to pick up 2 before Cowman. My goodness, the man's been on a Sigma this whole time. He finds 3 on the McCree. And now Boise State's got to be careful. They traded pretty evenly here. And now the Broncos starting to wrap up things here and at least force Northwood for a reset.
I don't know that all of Boise State is going to be back by the next time that Northwood put. Well, okay. Now with that pick on Landon, things are looking a little bit better for Boise State because Landon is hard staggered. So neither team, if they take this fight now, is going to be at full strength. But Cowman on the McCree, wow, I did not expect that.
Yeah, nice gravitic flux there from Kell. They'll be able to take down Cowman, who apparently used the Deadeye right before he went down, so he's not going to have it available at any time, and he'll swap over to the Echo as Dynasty will get taken out. Make that the May if he's just hopping all around in the spot, and Boise State's going to send Northwood back.
And as we see here, Goblin setting up for a cheeky flank, which surprises exactly no one.
Yeah, no one is shocked by this. He's pretty dang close to the Molten Core. He'd have to get a couple of headshots to really be able to activate it, but if he can get it off and Northwood doesn't know where he is, he could get another 4K and a potential player of the game from Overwatch's POTG system. As we see, there's a Dragon Strike coming out. Morp's going to counteract it, though, with the sound barrier, and now Goblin, his cheeky flank went nowhere. He's the only member left alive, and he'll just have to retreat.
His cheeky flank went nowhere except setting his team up for a 5v6.
He was really close to the Molten Core. I mean, if he gets the Molten Core off, Morb sound barrier fades, maybe he clutches, but it was a little bit too slow for Boise State, and now Northwood's going to start pushing here.
Just a touch. Flanks are risky. Flanks are high risk, high reward. But sometimes they just flop.
See grab come out from Dynasty. Boise State's got the first elimination on 2 more. 2-man chatter comes out, but a great immortality field's going to keep Boise State alive. Goblin's got to be careful as he will get headshot by Cowman and nearly took him down. One more and he would have taken him. Now we're going to see the Nano on to Dynasty, who brings down Kell. Plato, though, gets one right back. They've at least been able to push Cowman off his little high ground there as the team's trading back and forth. The Large Bagel and Cowman both go down, and it looks like Boise State's going to force a minor reset from Northwood. JK, they'll lose Asu. Now Boise State's probably the ones who have got a reset here.
Boise State does get a full recontest. They do. It does come at the cost of quite a bit of payload pushing, but they do get a full recontest, which is important, which is much better than taking staggered fights, especially against Northwood.
Goblin over here trying to 1v2 the Northwood tanks.
Meanwhile,
unfortunately, not able to find anything. Meanwhile, the rest of Boise State maybe trying for a cheeky little flank here onto Northwood, taking a page out of the playbook of Goblin, who's now swapped over the Widowmaker there. Garav's going to come out. We saw an Ant Matrix used by a Large Bagel as well. The Broncos able to take down 2. Both DPS, the most snipers for Northwood have been taken out, making all 3 snipers.
Nice.
Landon will go down, and Boise State says, hey, Goblin, we like that kind of flank style, and they pull it off perfectly.
They pulled it off together. They pulled it off perfectly together. Sweet serenity.
Even a nice double stagger as well. One onto a Cash and one onto Morb.
Absolutely huge. Morb got picked early next fight just to come back in late this fight and get staggered.
No ults really close for Northwood besides the Nano. Cowman will be taken out there. You see the Supercharger has already been used. Tyler's going to take down Goblin. He'll now have the Dragon Strike available. Plato has his as well. Spells the Gravitic Flux up, so a couple of ultimates to spare for both sides. There's a Gravitic Flux that's going to come out from Kel to kick things off. He'll slam Dynasty to the ground. Landon will join as well. Now another flank here from Boise State is Northwood right now running into a bit of a buzzsaw. Boise State's once again going to wipe them, and it's going to be a reset here for the Timberwolves.
Really nice, clean Gravitic Flux by Kel there. Secured 2 kills. Did a great job. Goblin is having an unfortunate time in the War of the Snipers, but Plato is there to finish what Goblin started.
Tyler's still holding on to the Dragon Strength. Goblin now going to swap over to that Doomfist. Nano's available as well for Landon. Boise State's got the Rally and the Ant Matrix coming up very soon. Meanwhile, a Cache
I see that.
just sort of backdoor pushing on the payload. Boise State really not ready for it. Meanwhile, they're going to get one onto Plato. They'll Dragon Strike onto the point. That will be a whiff, unfortunately, for Plato, but Tyler's not going to do much better as the Rally comes out from Ace. Soon the Broncos have pushed a Cache off the point. Great use there of that Wrecking Ball to be able to get some extra meters here, as Boise State has done a great job bleeding some of the time off. Nano's going to go on to a Cache now, and Boise State's got to be careful. Anti lands onto Guac, and he will be taken out. Boise State now split up here just a little bit. The Sigma's throwing rocks at each other right now. And it looks like Kel might be the loser here. Soundberry comes out for more, but Dynasty taken out. Boise State has been able to bleed off most of that with the Ant Matrix coming down from a large bagel. Tyler does pick up Goblin. Him and Moore very low, though. Boise State's able to finish off one before Kel gets taken out. Immortality field used there. There's a minefield and a double stun. And Boise State, unfortunately, with 44 seconds on the clock, looks like they might be forced here to surrender this second payload point. Guac trying to hold strong, boop off the edge from Moore. They also take down Guac, and Northwood should be able here to get the second point once Boise State stops running into their own death. But a Gravitic Flux from Kel might be able to flip this one around. He's not quite able to finish off Dynasty as the Cache is able to take down a couple, and Boise State might be best served here for a reset. Stop walking through that window, please. No. Well, now they'll reset.
Boise State, they basically just lost that fight to the ball. Here's why. If that ball hadn't pushed that cart and forced Boise State off the high ground, Boise State just would have been able to hold on the high ground indefinitely.
Yep.
Northwood had to do something to get them off of the high ground. And so more importantly than some extra payload meters, he got them the whole point because he got the Broncos off of the castle. Because Northwood has no advantages if the Broncos are on that castle.
Nano lands on the Cowman here, and a Gravitic Flux from Dynasty. He's going to put 4 Broncos in the gray. Let's make it 5 with Block going down. And the first 2 points went great. The third point's a speed run here for Northwood as they're going to take down a large bagel as well. They're going to walk uncontested in. Only a minute in the time bank, but still, it's going to be a tough task here for Boise State.
A minute in the time bank, almost none of which was bled off on that third point there.
Yeah.
They had a really nice second point hold, though. It took Northwood a good while to figure out how to get them off of that high ground. And a minute and 1 second, not that much. Boise State, that's a solid hold. I mean, with teams of skill levels like this, you expect them to cap, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, like, how much time they have left. And a minute and 1 second is not a lot at all.
No, Boise State, as you mentioned, if a Cache doesn't go for the cheeky backdoor push on the payload right here around this high ground, Boise State probably might get into overtime or at least even stop them because, I mean, they were down to 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Unfortunately, they were not able to finish it. A Cache doing a really, really good job on that Wrecking Ball. And now we see here for Boise State, they're going to put a Goblin on the Echo. Cowman's going to be on the Echo as well, so we'll see a battle here, and we'll see if Boise State can maybe get us to overtime because they were really, really close on Havana. They were maybe 40 meters away. They were just at the entrance to that final castle before time ran out. And Boise State, it's been one of those, like we've talked about, D'Angelo. It's still a 2-0 in the favor of Northwood, but it's been a very, very close 2-0 between these two teams.
Hopefully, we see Goblin pull off some amazing echo play like we saw some of on Dorado. I do believe that will benefit them a lot. Eichenwald might benefit his flank style just a little bit with the freedom to go over the roofs. Not sure if I recommend that, but I'm sure if somebody's going to get value, it would be him doing that.
Kick things off here. We'll see what Boise State can do. Cowman still on the DPS. Dynasty on the Zarya, but Goblin's going to make him regret that if he immediately gets the first pick. Immortality Field has been committed by a large bagel, and there's the Goblin pop-off you were talking about, D'Angelo. He gets another one on to Dynasty as well. Cowman now going to swap over to the Tracer, and Plato's going to help his DPS buddy there. They'll take down Tyler. It's a 3-0 fight win for Boise State. Let's make it 5 as the rest of the members of Northwood will go down. Just a Cash who's alive and a quick payload cap for Boise State. We'll see if Northwood can hold the high ground like the Broncos did.
Thanks for the payload, Goblin. We appreciate it. Thanks for the payload on your little ASU damage boost leash. We really appreciate that.
See here what the Broncos want to do. Once we mentioned, Northwood ran into struggles here with this high ground as Boise State takes down Tyler, but Landon's able to get one onto Asu. So the pocket mercy gone now for Goblin for the time being. See what they want, if the Broncos can find a way up there. These shields right now being melted. Landon will get one on the Goblin as well, so he unfortunately will not be able to continue to carry the Broncos here. Plato, though, going to step right up in his place. He'll take down Morb in the process. Cowman going to take down a large bagel. So team's just trading back and forth. This Dynasty will go down in the process. Once again, another one for Boise State as they get a res on a large bagel before they lose Plato. And this time, Boise State right now has probably got to retreat as they wait for their DPS to get back into the fight. A Cash and Tyler doing a really good job. As Tyler's going to take down another one. A Cash just bullying and annoying Guac. And Cowman now behind them as well as the Broncos retreat.
You've got to find a way to get them off of the high ground. We saw several people try to go up to them on the high ground, and that is definitely not the move, and especially definitely not the move solo.
Tyler has really found a home here on this Ash. He struggled earlier on, but now he's getting some great value. The res will come out onto Guac. Asu's got 2 of those off perfectly. Unfortunately, Guac will die again, as well as Kel. So that's just going to buff the stats there. We saw the duplicate from Goblin immediately destroyed. He does take down more before he falls, and Boise State, much like Northwood, run into some issues on that high ground.
Because the issue is, how do you get them off?
Yep.
Gravitic Flux is a really good way to do that, but we've been sort of slow to charge Gravitic Flux, and it's not necessarily Kel's fault because it's kind of hard to charge it when they're across the map.
Yeah.
But that is our win condition, getting a nice Gravitic Flux, probably comboed with the Dragon. Nice!
Nice pick on to Tyler there. They also got Dynasty, who was getting a little too edgy in the spawn. Nano's going to come out onto a Cash and a pulse bomb from Cowman. Can't quite kill Guac, but we'll take him low. Valkyrie has been committed here by Asu. Minefield from a Cash going to be used, and the Broncos starting to find a way around the high ground. Transcendence has been used by Morb. Cowman going to try and do what he can. Fortify used by Guac, and he will be taken out. Bob called into the fight. Dragon Strike takes down Dynasty, but a Cash will stop Goblin, who's over on that Widowmaker now. Plato, though, making more than up for that as he's able to take down more. They're going to just shoot Bob in the head a bunch because he doesn't really move very fast or very often. I don't know where Tyler was going. That man just yeeted off the edge of the map, and he will fall to his death. And Boise State started making around that first corner.
And things are looking pretty good for Boise State once they get around that first corner now that they finally denied Northwood the high ground. We're sitting at full strength on Amplification Matrix, and it didn't even take us a Gravitic Flux to get them off that high ground.
Yeah, Supercharger Gravitic Flux still available for Boise State as well as the Amp Matrix. Just the whole hog for Dynasty, but he can't use it when he's dead. You see Morb put a ton of damage in on the Goblin, who, much like we've talked about in other matches, he's sort of been hopping all over the place, hasn't quite found a comfort hero of yet. And of course, going to keep resetting all of his alt charges. We do see a Nano this time going to land onto a Cash once again, but Landon will be taken out there. Immortality Field used, and a Cash will pop the Minefield before being taken out. The Broncos just going to take care of all of those pesky little mines. Halt's going to go on to Morb, and he will get caught out. And Boise State working their way towards that second payload. Whole hog committed, and Dynasty immediately goes down. There's a Dragon Strike from Plato going to be used. See if he can find anything. It doesn't look like he can. There's a Supercharger now, so Boise State can recharge all his ultimates, and they've done all of this, by the way, D'Angelo, with that Gravitic Flux just ready to go, but not being used.
Which is a little bit of a, he probably could have charged another one at this point, to be perfectly honest. It's been long enough. However, it is a testament to Boise State Blues' skill that they're just cleaning up these fights.
Yeah, great pick there on to Dynasty. The Broncos now will round the corner. More than triple the amount of time Northwood had on the clock when they made it into this third point, but Northwood make quick work of it, just absolutely running down Boise State. The Broncos can do the same. There's the Gravitic Flux going to be committed there by Kel. He's able to pick up 2 onto Landon and Tyler. Guac gets onto a Cash who swapped over to the Winston. Bob has been called in by Tyler. A res onto Plato is going to put the Broncos at full strength. The Junkrat now being used here by Goblin. Cowman going to swap over to the May. And Boise State rounding this final corner, maybe putting themselves here in a time bank advantage on Eichenwald, trying to stop the full sweep by Northwood as Kell's going to take down Landon. Tyler does pick up Plato, but in on the back line is a Cash, and he will just get absolutely obliterated. There's an Ant Matrix comes down from a large bagel, and Boise State going to use that to their advantage. Cowman gets taken out as well. Landon's going to try and swap over to the Moira, but Boise State incredibly close to capping, just 1 meter away, and they're starting to run through the members of the Timberwolves here. As Dynasty has gone down, unfortunately with the respawn advantage, they've got to get a full team wipe. As we see Tyler now going to be on that Reaper. Cowman will be able to take down Asu, so there's no res. Riptire going to take Cowman down. Primal Rage committed by a Cash. He is immediately just ripped through. And a Supercharger committed here by Guac. And right now Boise State just trying to find a full team wipe so they can push this last 1.26 meters. As Dynasty and Tyler going to go down once again, so will a Cash and Cowman and the Broncos. The extra 50 seconds on the clock going to force us into overtime here.
They bled a good 2 minutes off, just padding kill stats.
It was a great contest by Northwood.
It was absolutely a great contest by Northwood. They bled 2 minutes off, just throwing the bodies on the point. That was great.
Yeah, that is how you do a stall. As you talked about, D'Angelo, with teams this talented, you usually expect it to be full caps, and it really just comes down to how much time is left in overtime.
Yes.
And now Boise State's got the 50-second advantage here, and we'll be curious to see what the Broncos can do in overtime.
And 50-second is an extra 2 fights. That's significant. Boise State has on average an extra 2 tries to get however far they need to get.
Yeah, really surprised that Northwood's still sticking with Cowman on the Tracer. Of course, the main off-tank for the Timberwolves. Swapping over to DPS here for this, and Boise State has kind of taken advantage of that with Dynasty in the tank position, and we'll see what they want to do as he's going to be still on the Zarya. See there at Northwood. Collegiate Esports, designed to give gamers the chance to play competitively and obtain an esports business or tech degree from the university. And Northwood, of course, has also been pretty successful this year from what I've seen. I believe their coach follows me on Twitter, so I see a lot of their retweets. I know them and Akron just had a crazy Rocket League game last night, and as we mentioned, Northwood also the Hugh Fest Overwatch champions as well. So a very talented esports program, and Boise State has given them all they can handle and more right now here in the Nace semifinals, at least on Eichenwald. As we're in overtime here, Northwood kicking off things first attacking, and they're already down to their final 40 seconds as they only had a minute on the clock. As Tyler's going to get the Orb of Discord, they're going to push around the corner. Boise State's just right now spraying into it. Dynasty's going to use the shield. As we talked about, Zarya loves the spray games because she can just build that ult up and her shield charge incredibly fast. But right now, Northwood has not found a way in. Cowman's now going to go in. It looks like we saw potentially an immortality field committed by Landon incredibly early. A large bagel committed his as well, and Tyler will be the first to eliminate it. And there we go, unpaused, and Boise State going to be able to trade 1-for-1 here. Cowman, though, in on the back line. Landon incredibly low, gets the Ant Matrix down before he dies. Large Bagel does the same, but he's still alive. Unfortunately for Boise State, they're losing more members than Northwood. And with 1 second on the clock, the payload gets unlocked, and overtime will continue.
Boise State just needs to win 1 clean fight. So at this point, it definitely is a viable strat to build up as close to 6 ultimates as you can get in a short amount of time and just use them all at once. All you gotta do is kick them off the cart. Ult economy kind of goes out the window for Boise State if they're just going to use them all at once to win the fight.